get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the Copy. Right foot down. We got to go, plan. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. It's your base. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great. Oh, ridiculous, man. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. Two times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap.
Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. My name is Eric. I'm your host this week, joined by a couple of my good buddies here. Jarrett Lundberg, a.k.a. the Iceberg, is in the call, and Darian Gilliam, also known as Black Flags Matter, is here as well, representing the L.A. Rams. Guys, I think all of our football teams lost this weekend. We should not be.
That's
Not
why
be celebrating.
Hey, no, that's how you can tell if you're a diehard or not. You know, you got to rep them whether they're winning or losing.
I mean, I'm on
Honestly,
tank mode.
I respect that. I am the fairest weather Texans fan there is. I'm not afraid to admit it. Our good buddy Danny B, resident Tennessee Titans fan, is not here, unfortunately. Hopefully he will be back next week. Real quick, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our live chat because, I put the stream up this morning, like 8 or 10 hours ago, and immediately we got some of these usual cast of characters, folks like Spencer, Napa Racing fan, Irvin Alvarado. There's probably a few others. I'm sorry, I can't name everyone who's in the chat all day long, just memeing back and forth. Like when the Sheldon Creed RCR breaking news hit earlier this afternoon, they're in real time, just sitting in our chat, reacting to it hours before the stream. I just want to give you guys a shout out. That's dedication right there. It blows me away to see that kind of stuff. Also want to shout out everyone who sent in super chats already. We will get to the first batch of those at the top of the hour at the end of the first super chat stage break. But gentlemen, I'm doing enough talking. We've got lots to get to tonight. Let's begin with our hot takes. Jarrett, I think it's fitting that you lead us off this week.
All right. Well, mine is going to be one that I don't think fans might agree with me on, but it still is a hot take. After the little barbs traded back and forth in the media, and basically the precedent that one of them was trying to set out with it, I'm going to say this, my hot take, at the moment, Denny Hamlin is more likable than Jeff Gordon. The whole being surprised and not liking being outspoken and it being pretty clear that's what he wants from Hendrick Motorsports drivers. At this point, Denny Hamlin, maybe it's just because I like drivers who are outspoken, way more likable right now. Even if it's saying something that I don't agree with, I like Denny at this point more. There's no other way. There's no other way I'm going to put it. I'm just biased with it. That's my hot take.
Dang, that's a zesty one right there. Spencer's calling us out, saying this is the warm takes segment. Jarrett, you're boiling right here. That was great. Darian, let's see if we can keep this rolling.
Damn, see, I saw it was second, and then I was thinking all day, and I was like, I don't know if I have the best one, but it has to do with the Roval. So, I don't know, me wanting the Roval off the schedule and in favor of the Oval, I don't know, like, I don't think, like, that's a hot take, but I just wanted to bring up, like, I don't know, like some of the arguments I was hearing towards it. Like NASCAR fans are quick to switch up. It's like, okay, the race at times was exciting. There was some, like some strategy into play and stuff. I mean, like that's with every race though, as far as strategy is concerned. And, you had like some surprises and stuff, but I don't know. Before that though, I think it was like, I'm not going to say it was unanimous, but it seemed like the majority were like, yeah, let's bring back the Oval now or whatever. Then all of a sudden some decided to switch up. And one of the arguments I heard, and I don't know, like, this is like the dumbest one. I'm sorry, like, if you made this, but for whoever made this, but it was, let's have just one oval race being the Coke 600. That way, the prestige of it stays up. So by that logic, I guess the Daytona 500's gone down in terms of prestige and stuff, like, the biggest race, I guess. So I don't know. So that's not really a hot take, but I don't know. That's just one argument that I just wanted to say. What were you thinking, man?
We'll talk probably a bit more about the Roval once we finish recapping the race in a few minutes, but that's not bad. Okay, there you go. Chat saying you cooked, Jarrett. The kids tell me that means you did something good. My hot take, and I talked about this a little bit on my show yesterday, and I got a lot of pushback on it. I was a bit surprised, honestly, but On Door Bumper Clear earlier this week, Bob Pockris name dropped Noah Gregson, said Noah is a legit candidate to replace Eric Almirola at Stewart-Haas Racing. And I like Noah, but that doesn't make sense to me. He does not fit at Stewart-Haas Racing whatsoever for a number of reasons. One, you look at their driver lineup. You've got, a lot of kind of blue collar guys from the East Coast, Southern United States like Josh Berry, Midwest Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece had to scratch and claw his way through bad rides to get here. You bring in West Coast Noah Gregson, Las Vegas, who's, at least in his NASCAR career, has never been in a bad ride. That just doesn't fit to me. I also would be surprised if Ford were to pick Noah Gregson, since they were unwilling to go after Kyle Larson in any capacity. And I don't think Gregson's off-track controversy rises nearly to the level of Kyle Larson's, but still, that would be surprising to me. But most importantly, why this fit doesn't work for me is Noah Gregson wasn't very good this year. He was terrible, as a matter of fact. And I know his car isn't that good either, but the moment he left and Carson Hocevar jumped behind the wheel, suddenly it was a top 15, top 20 threat. So I don't know what it is. Noah Gregson, if he goes to Cup next year, he needs to go somewhere where the spotlight isn't on him. I think it's smarter for him to go Trucker Xfinity Series racing so he can rebuild some of that confidence, similar to what Cole Custer has, I think, successfully done this year. Something about his first year in Cup, I think, shot any and all confidence Noah Gregson had in himself. It would be foolish, in my opinion, for Stewart-Haas Racing to put him in the Cup Series, unless he's bringing a fat check. That's just my take.
Talk about failing upwards, though. And I totally believe he deserves to get a second chance, but yeah, he'd be a fish out of water with that team and stuff, not only based on his performance last year, but yeah, with the other personalities. Pretty much those three drivers pretty much had to claw and scratch to get to where they are now. And I'm not saying Noah Gregson's had an easy easy path, sure, but he certainly had some help along the way.
Absolutely. I just put a poll in our live chat who had the hottest take. Jarrett, you've got a big early lead.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but I'm just I need to continue this momentum through the end of the year. Definitely need to. So I will definitely be campaigning a lot for the chats.
Keeping it spicy. Speaking of spicy, gentlemen, the Charlotte Roval this weekend. Oh my God, Jarrett's dropped a super chat over Jarrett. Oh my goodness. Is that actually you, or is that an impersonator?
That's me. It's campaign season, baby. Next 12 months, I'm campaigning.
And it has the moderator wrench too.
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about the Roval race. Before we get into the playoff picture, because obviously this was an elimination race, that's a big deal. We should talk about the winner. AJ Allmendinger, his third career win, second win for Colleague Racing in their young Cup career. And it was an emotional win. AJ Allmendinger was emotional. Chris Rice was emotional. Allmendinger said it himself. You never know if or when you're going to win another one of these things. And with all the rumors floating around regarding his future, this very well could be his final Cup Series win, perhaps at least his final as a full-time Cup Series driver. So Jarrett, your thoughts on AJ Allmendinger getting the win on Sunday?
I think anytime AJ Allmendinger wins is awesome, just because the way he celebrates. He really, even in 2021 when we were all at Indianapolis, he was celebrating like it was no tomorrow. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's awesome to see a driver go up into the stands. That was not, or is not, something, I should say, that's normal anymore. And I've been rewatching different seasons, and I finished up 2010 a few days ago. And one of the things I liked is Carl Edwards jumping up into the stands and celebrating with fans after breaking a winless streak. And it reminds me of those kind of moments. And those are moments that fans at the track especially will never forget. So I'm always a fan of AJ Allmendinger winning. And this might, depending on if he's able to replicate stuff, might not be the last win of the season he has if he does what he did last year at the end of the Homestead race.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think, Darian? Big win for Allmendinger, not in the playoffs, obviously, but what does this say about his legacy, or what he's still capable of, I should say?
How does this affect AJ Allmendinger's legacy? How many people have thought about his legacy though? You know what I mean? I don't know, it's just a random driver. But in this case, though, yes. I honestly think he should just go out on top with this. Like, I mean, like he could still run Xfinity and stuff, sure. But as far as his Cup Series career, I don't know. Like it could go either way. It could go that way where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna, go out on top with this victory, or it could maybe propel him to like, the team like, hey, let's run it back. Let's see if we can, try and make the playoffs this time next year. So I mean, it's still a great win nonetheless. I think it's funny though that as far as like my drivers, like who's gonna suck, I picked him to suck just because it's like I was like, damn, he's just been so underwhelming on the road courses.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
had.
finally he like steps it up finally. But yeah, no, great run for him nonetheless. And it's always fun when a non-playoff guy wins in the playoffs. Always add some extra intrigue to that.
Yeah, we were spoiled last season when the whole first round was swept by non-playoff guys. Allmendinger snaps I guess a winless streak for the non-playoff guys.
Only in NASCAR can that happen, where a non-playoff guy can win in the playoffs.
I did end the hottest take poll. Jarrett, this was one of the blowouts of the year. 73% of the vote. I'll take second with a lucky 17% of the popular vote. Thank you everyone for voting. We're closing in on 500 concurrent viewers. We appreciate y'all tuning in here on a Wednesday night. I just opened up a second poll asking the chat where they think AJ Allmendinger will race next season, Cup or Xfinity. And right now, by almost 2/3 of the vote, Xfinity is leading the way. I saw something today from AJ Allmendinger that said Colleague still has not finalized their plans for the 16 car next year. So there's still a chance. AJ's a team player. He says he's happy either way. He'll run Xfinity, he'll run Cup, do whatever's best for the company. But Darian, where do you think Allmendinger will race full-time next year?
I think Xfinity. Yeah, Xfinity series. It seems perfect for him and stuff. Like, and he doesn't necessarily have to drive full time there. I don't think. Like, maybe if he did like the majority of the races, sure. But hey, if he wants to run full time, great. Like, hey, go for that championship too. Hey, we're just, just brought up his legacy and stuff. And I don't know. There's something about guys where it's like, okay, they weren't the best necessarily in Cup, but then once they go down to Xfinity, they become championship contenders. Like Elliott Sadler is the best example. And we've seen that before from AJ, where it's like, okay, like he was in the championship for at one point. So yeah, hey, why not? He can do it again if he goes down full time for sure, So I think Xfinity is his best bet. But like you said, he's a team player. So, Cup Series is certainly a possibility still.
Yeah, I think he's a Cup talent at this point, no doubt. And I'm hard pressed to think of a worthy replacement that would be better than Allmendinger.
Yeah, not too many guys have 3 Cup Series victories, and he has
exactly.
3.
And he's never been in elite equipment. Well, not since like his Penske days, but like the last.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about.
Yeah, well, I'm saying for the longest time, he is not. All 3 of those wins have come in less than stellar equipment, I would say. But if we want to see Allmendinger win races and contend for a championship, he goes to Xfinity, he will do just that. So it is sort of a trade-off. Jarrett, where do you think Allmendinger ends up next year?
So I'm going to roll with Xfinity also. And I will say, I think it's better for him to be in Xfinity. I remember when even last year and the year before talking about how it was the most fun he'd ever had, how there was that magic there. And I feel like that's a kind of magic that Colleague overall needs. Like, this is a good moment, but this is definitely like a blip up in what has either been a flat or even kind of downward year for the entire team. I mean, if we think of Colleague middle of last year, you look at that 16 car. I'll even say before that, just in general, Colleague had been on this upward trend, and we're talking like this team going to be the next Xfinity superpower. We're talking about how they're going to be competing. How many of them are we going to get into the playoffs in the coming years? And now when we talk about Colleague, we're like, well, they're kind of like a fringe top 20 team. They can luck into a win here or there, maybe some strategy. And, that they got some okay drivers. Yeah, their future's kind of leaving with Justin Haley, but maybe there's something like there needs to be some kind of jolt of energy put back in this team. And I think AJ being in Xfinity could do that just because it is a culture. It's something that's very underrated and people don't talk about much in NASCAR, but each team has to have that culture. And I feel like Colleagues kind of got knocked off base this year.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I fully agree with your argument. From Colleague's standpoint, it probably does make the most sense to put him in Xfinity just for that very reason. Build that culture back up, get back to your winning ways, add a few more trophies to the trophy case. They've struggled to do that this year, honestly, even in Xfinity. I think they got a couple wins, but only I think 2 wins one win this year has come from a full-time driver, which was Chandler Smith. So
I don't know where the focus is with them, because you look at AJ this year and he's in the middle of a playoff battle. He's got I get it. Richmond wasn't good for the colleague teams, and we had this big debate then, but he skips out on practice and qualifying and getting that track time to race at Road America in an Xfinity one-off. So that at this point, like, his head probably is in Xfinity, and that's where he'd probably win more, compete more, help the team more. It just, to me, makes sense.
Yeah, and
I agree, which is what. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it was surprising last week when Allmendinger said he'd rather race in Cup, and maybe just because the money's better. It's as simple as that. I get it. But from a glory and competitive standpoint, you're right. He fits the Xfinity series so much better.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I guess, like, I don't know, him being a team player and stuff, I guess that whole Richmond deal, like, obviously people are like, hey, why is AJ doing this and stuff? But also you have to remember, again, the team, makes the final decisions, of course, too. So, like, obviously, the team is like, the main culprit in that. And, I guess, like, it speaks to him being a team player and stuff, because I guess, like, the team was like, hey, look, even though we have this playoff situation, we know, he's not really that good at Richmond. I think he's better off trying to get us a trophy in that, I guess, which is like, okay, like, look, that's fine. At the end of the day, it's their team, they make the final decisions. But yeah, it wasn't a good look on the outside perspective when, the Cup Series playoffs are like hyped up to oblivion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, great moment, though, this weekend. The future is certainly uncertain for both Colleague and AJ. I think we'll talk a little more about Colleague later in the show when we discuss all the free agent moves and rumors. 61% of our chat thinks he will go full-time Xfinity next year. So that seems to be the leading theory, but nothing is confirmed at this point. I want to shout out Ty Gibbs real quick for finishing inside the top 5. Also, we had William Byron came up just short of winning his 7th race of the year, finishing 2nd. Joey Logano finished top 5 as well. Byron's in the playoffs, but had already moved on. Those other 2 guys are no longer playoff eligible. I just want to shout out some good finishers, so we're not, before we fully commit to this playoff conversation, which I think should begin now. The round of 12 came to an end. Kyle Busch was eliminated. So was Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski, and Bubba Wallace. Gentlemen, let's start with Kyle Busch because he's the one who made things interesting. Has a couple of runner-ups at road courses this year. Figured he'd be a threat, but knew coming in he more than likely needed a win. And he was very much in the picture during all those late race restarts. He was restarting on the front row 2, was putting some pressure on AJ, Byron, but ultimately fell off towards the end there and really wasn't a factor in the ultimate win, but still finishes a solid 3rd. Jarrett, do you think this first year for Kyle Busch at RCR was a successful one?
No, I don't want to be negative Nancy on this. I'm going to say no. He got 3 wins. So what? He matched Tyler Reddick last year.
Yeah.
He made it to the round of 12. So he got a round further than Tyler Reddick last year. Maybe this is me holding standards too high. Fans probably disagree with me, but with Kyle Busch, I don't care how bad he was at the end of JGR or what the chemistry was there. With Kyle Busch, I don't see really any fall off. I think he's the driver wise is still up there. I expect him to be competing year in and year out for championships. I don't care if it's RCR. RCR showed a lot of speed last year, and by all accounts, you got an upgrade at driver. And I think they were better than last year, but the inconsistency of this team to me was completely maddening. And it felt like there were some days that it was the Kyle Busch of old, and he's going out there leading a bunch of laps. It's clear he is the favorite. There's other days they're completely out to lunch. So to me, and this is a problem I think with pretty much every team out there outside of probably the 24 team and maybe the 11-5, consistency needs to be cleaned up right now with that team. Teams are going to get their hands around this car long term, and with RCR still, I think, better, but still being a step behind a Hendrick, a Penske, a JGR. These times when the competition is more equal than it's ever been, these are the times that Kyle Busch, RCR, that whole organization needs to strike, and I feel like this is a huge missed opportunity.
I think that's fair. I would disagree, though. I do think this was a successful first season for Kyle Busch, but only slightly. I think round of 8, championship 4 was certainly, sort of on the docket after he fired off so strong, winning at Auto Club Speedway in week 2. But you kind of said it. He matched Tyler Reddick's win total from last year, which on its face isn't super impressive, but he did make it a full round further. To me, if I'm RCR and Kyle Busch, you look at all the DNFs this year. I think they're maybe tied for the second most number of DNFs in the Cup Series this year behind their teammate Austin Dillon.
I remember Kyle Larson was the talk. He was the talk of the town. When it
Larson's
came to
in the
that,
mix as well.
Yeah,
But he's cleaned it up. He's cleaned
that's
it
what
up.
I'm saying. Now Kyle Busch is like the new guy. He's taking that
exactly.
mantle.
You clean up those DNFs. Like that's what did him in this round, opening that first race at Texas. And I don't know if it was a loose wheel or what they ever figured out the problem was, but wrecking out at Texas put him in a huge hole he could not recover from. There are times, like you said, Jarrett, where he looked like the Kyle Busch of old, like the first 2 races of the playoffs. Sure, they had issues on Saturday. He had to start at the rear of the field. How many times have we seen Kyle, whether it's Cup, Xfinity trucks, flying through the field early in the race? He was able to do that at the beginning of these playoffs and get a couple, I think a 7th and an 11th to begin the playoffs. Like that looked like vintage Kyle Busch, kept him alive. So overall, I would say this was a mildly successful first year, but I think it's encouraging because you can see clear ways to improve. And I think expectations will be even higher next year. What do you think, Darian?
Yeah, I'm going to personally cut him and the team a little bit of slack, considering it is their first year. The way I see it is, like, I guess I'll compare them to a sports team. Look, I'm Danny B all of a sudden, I'm going to compare them to a sports team, right? So I'll compare them right now to a similar season in which, like, let's go to college football, in which Colorado is going through. You started off the season with all the hype, right? And then early on, you deliver a little bit and you're like, okay, this is looking really good, right? But then, reality sets in and you're like, okay, like, they're still going to be good, but perhaps not a championship caliber team quite yet. And I feel like RCR is in that spot, and, they have a ton of potential, though. That's the thing. So I feel like them going through these struggles now is certainly going to help them out in the long run. Now, obviously, with, Austin Dillon, that's a whole nother situation. But with them, at least you have a team where I wouldn't say you don't have to worry about them, because if you didn't have to worry about them, they'd be competing in the championship for this year. But obviously that's not going to happen. So you just got to make some minor improvements, and also just got to make sure that Kyle Busch's confidence stays up. I believe that's what we saw here, especially, mid towards the end of the season. His confidence is sort of wavered. And, and also, like, I don't know, just him going public with that to some extent too was a little, like, I mean, he's always like, griped like, oh, this sucked or whatever, but like, you never felt like I never got a sense where it's like, damn, like we're really
desolate
in a
at
slow.
times.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a different part. So I don't know if that's just because, struggling with a new team, new environment he has to get used to. So I feel like next year is going to be a whole lot better.
And he sold his Truck Series team now, and it sounds like he might still be a little involved with Spire next year, but maybe that's, I don't know, a weight off his chest. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but that's one less, iron in the fire, one less thing pulling his attention.
Kevin Harvick benefited long term from, shutting down his team and stuff, focusing on the racing a little bit more. So
yeah, you could certainly say that. I asked the chat, 86% of our live viewers believe this was a successful first RCR season for Kyle Busch. So damn, Jarrett, that's 2 hot takes you could have won the hot take segment with now.
Double trouble.
Well, if you had my video yesterday from the response I got, I've had 3 in a 24-hour span.
There you go.
That's a streak. You got a streak going now officially. We appreciate everyone chiming in with their opinions. Again, at the top of the hour, we'll get to the first super chat stage break. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I mentioned the other 3 drivers eliminated. We can touch a little quicker maybe on Brad Keselowski and Ross Chastain. Ross was rallying there towards the end of that race. He had pit, I think, put some fresh tires on. I think he got back to finish 10th actually, but entered this race, I think, minus 10 points, didn't collect enough stage points. So Ross Chastain is out. Just real quick, Jarrett, championship 4 last year. This year, clearly Trackhouse not quite as competitive as they were. What do you make of Ross's year as a whole?
I think that you probably had to, at least in your back of your mind, think there could have been some kind of regression with Ross. It's kind of like a better version of colleague, I guess, when it comes to Trackhouse overall. We kind of talked about it before the show, but it definitely felt like he kind of got a little off tilt after that opening third of the season. Controversy already, the cars were not as good as they were last year. I think that's the main determining factor. But then when you add in the big point of emphasis everyone had on Ross through the race we were at with this shirt here at Darlington was thanks Ross. Basically, Ross was in the middle of everything. It was 2022 part 2, and I think at this point it just it's the same thing as colleague. There needs to be that kind of consistency put in. I didn't think it was I wouldn't say that's a failure of a year, because we don't have that baseline set up for Ross and Trackhouse yet. The jury for me is still out. If next year they're really good, okay, this is a sophomore slump with this team. If next year is more of the same, then we can look at 2022 being a blip in the radar, and this is the regression back to the mean.
That's certainly possible. Darian, we were kind of talking before the show. Do you think that talk Ross got after Darlington, do you think that played a significant role in sort of the somewhat struggles this summer?
Yeah, it was not the only thing, but I think it's a major one. And remember, that's when the podcast party bus happened too. So, that same car passed our car there too that day. So I don't know. It's always funny looking back on that. Anyways, yeah, Ross Chastain, after that whole deal at Darlington, yeah, like once they made it public, like, hey, he had a talking to and stuff. I mean, the proof's in the pudding there. Like, I don't think the cars, like, I don't know, like their team performance wise, I don't think didn't really start to dip immediately, but it was a slow but steady, but slow but steep, slow, but it was a slow decline basically. And you had the blip in the radar where it was like, he won Nashville. Oh, okay, he's back. But then he never really was. And then the next assumption was, okay, they're just saving stuff for the playoffs. Got through the round of 16, okay, but then, like he wasn't really even close to advancing neither, because I don't think he was even a contender at one point, So yeah, I think like that talk definitely had a role in it too, because you started to see like he wasn't doing anything, and I don't know, I think it sort of, I'm not going to say it hurt his confidence, but like, I had said a while back, I was like, if they're going to start to tame Ross Chastain to some extent, I think it'll affect the way he drives. And I think that's what happened to an extent too. But also, like, I feel like another major part is the performance of the team. Because, I mean, he wasn't the only guy. His teammate Daniel Suarez, while he's not as talented as Ross Chastain, he's usually better than what he's been performing and stuff. And I think it's the same combination too of like talent and then the team, team wise and stuff, personnel. So definitely some improvements, but I have to say out of the people that were eliminated, he's the most disappointing to me.
Well, I'll put it like this to you guys. So I of course looked up the stat line. So that's why I'm looking down here. It was first 13 races. I believe that was after Darlington. Between Darlington and the 600, Ross had in 13 starts, he didn't have a win yet, but he had 5 top 5s, 6 top 10s, 347 laps led, which would have basically kind of led out to, if he were to repeat that the rest of the season, a season that probably had like 13, 14 top 5s and 18 to 20 top 10. So around where you should be to compete, probably leading close to 1,000 laps. In the 19 starts since then, he did get that win. He has 3 top 5s compared to the first 13 races having 5. He has 6 more top 10s after getting those first 6 in the 13 races to start, and he's only led 136 laps. So, like, there's a clear drop off after that point, and I do think part of it was that. I think the big part was the car, but man, I mean, it's the numbers are there to kind of show that was like a deciding point of the season that changed the trajectory.
Trent in the chat says Cliff Daniels derailed Bro's entire season.
Oh yeah, he went to the Chevy high ropes. It was like, hey, what's going on here? And then
that's twice,
but
Chevrolet.
also too, don't forget, Rick Hendrick said something in the post-race press conference too. So it wasn't just like it was a collective effort, I guess.
It was
like
a coordinated effort to shut that Melon Man hype train down a little bit. I do want to give Ross some credit. In this round, he did come back to finish second at Texas. I don't recall if he earned a lot of stage points in that race, but he did finish second at Texas, 10th at the Roval this weekend. It was Talladega getting caught up in that fluky wreck with Stenhouse and Kyle Busch that really ruined this round for him. So even despite the inconsistency and the struggles, dude was getting to the round of 8 if he doesn't finish last at Talladega, most likely, which kind of stings for sure if you're a Ross Chastain fan. That's why they call it a wild card race, no doubt.
Yeah.
I want to mention Brad because he's also been eliminated. Keselowski did not. Where did he finish? He finished, I think, outside the top. Yeah, he got crashed. He crashed in the Hocevar crash at Talladega. I don't think he earned any stage points, maybe a couple. Talladega was a missed opportunity, is my point for Brad Keselowski. We knew coming into this round he needed to do well at Talladega because this year he has struggled at road courses, and that struggle continued this weekend. Early on, had to serve a pass through for missing a chicane. Just never really was a factor, was employing different pit strategies towards the end, just throwing Hail Marys, hoping something would stick against the wall. Brad Keselowski is out. Darian, I'll start with you real quick on this. Chris Buescher's through to the round of 8. We'll talk about him more, but Brad made it to the round of 12. How do you feel this season went for Keselowski? Like, does he like? I feel like this whole year we've talked about RFK as both Brad and Buescher. They've gone hand in hand. Yes, Buescher's getting all the wins, but Brad's always right there in his shadow, right next to him. Batman and Robin. Now they're kind of separated a bit. One's moving on, one is eliminated. So how do you feel this, you can chalk up Brad's season up to this point?
Oh, it was great. It was way better than I expected. I don't think I had him in the playoffs this year. No, I figured it would definitely be better than last year, but not by this much. I mean, that team as a whole progressed, but specifically Brad Keselowski, though, I mean, hasn't gotten a win, yet. The season's not over though, but I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction. Definitely a step towards, the way he used to perform too. And there were a few times there where you were like, oh, is he going to break the winless streak and stuff? I feel like his best opportunity was definitely on the super speedways, especially Atlanta this year. Like he was in contention. I feel like, well, not, I feel like he was in
battle on the last lap.
The win. Yeah. For both Atlanta races. So, I wouldn't consider this season a failure, just a step in the right direction. I know he is getting up there in age, so maybe you might have to start thinking about and maybe some possible replacements. But I feel like with him though, I don't know. I would say maybe like 3-4 years left. Maybe that's pushing it, but I don't know. It doesn't sound like he wants to retire anytime soon. And the way he performed this year, I don't blame him.
Does Brad Keselowski being eliminated in this round still winless on the year? Does that put any sort of like, I don't know, I don't want to use the word blemish, but RFK has been hyped up in many ways, deservedly so, since the summer. But like now, if we take a step back and look at it, man, there is some disparity between how Chris Buescher has run and how Brad Keselowski has run. Like, how do we judge that? Like, is Chris Buescher that good, or is Keselowski just still kind of struggling to figure it out with this new team and new car?
I don't really think so, just because, Buescher, yes, obviously Buescher has more success. I do think, though, at the same time, Buescher did have a few, not like giant things, but a few things probably go more his way than Brad, whereas Keselowski is running for these wins at super speedways or in the running, but ultimately, like, maybe a strategy calls the wrong way, or I mean, you look at one of Buescher's wins. If that's not Brad's teammate, he makes a move and probably gets the win there. So I don't think it's too much of a damper on the season. I think that's the word I'd use for it. I think this team overall, Buescher, I still think is a very viable Final Four threat. And I think if Brad made it, he would be too. I just think this team overall is just a year away. I think they're a year away from being that consistent Roush that we grew up with. That you knew that the 6 or the 17 especially was going to be up front, was consistently running for wins. Because most of this improvement, and I don't know if they found something, if things just went their way more, but most of this improvement happened in the last half of the season. I think, I can't remember the stat I saw, but it was one of those advanced metric stats that showed speed-wise, Chris Buescher especially, but Brad was also high on this list, but Chris Buescher especially had just an abnormal jump in speed throughout the season. So I don't know if it's that Devin Ford found something. I still think, like I said, they're a year away from being consistent threats to win every week. I want to see more of it than just half a season.
Absolutely. The final driver I want to talk about getting eliminated is Bubba Wallace. 16 seed coming in. No 16 seed had ever made it past this round in the past. That didn't come out very well. But he was close. And going into the Charlotte Roval, I don't think many people had great expectations. He was 9 points out, not a great road racer. but he did finish top 10 at Charlotte last year. So there was reasons to be hopeful. And he had a decent run going once again this week. He qualified inside the top 5, collected stage points, but was still lagging behind. Strategy did him in. He kind of, when things flipped, he was towards the rear of the field, and then got spun towards the end there when Daniel Suarez missed the backstretch chicane. At that point, he was going to need some help in front of him to advance anyways, but still sort of added insult to injury. Jarrett, Bubba Wallace, should he be proud of this season, this effort, or did he leave something on the table?
I think they maximized both team and driver to the most that they possibly could get out of this. I get he's going to be upset, and I think any driver who gets eliminated, no matter how good or bad the team is going to be upset with it. But Bubba last year, and honestly, his whole Cup career has been, it's not minced words. Results-wise, he's been a pretty mediocre driver. There's no other way really to put it. You can make the same different statements about other popular drivers in the past whose results don't match the popularity. There's plenty of them. But this year, to me at least, I think you saw a huge step forward in mentality and also aggression, driver skill. Like on all metrics, the last 14, 15 weeks, there was that big step and you could visibly see it. The being on the cut line didn't bother him as much, and he didn't make a stupid mistake with it. He says he made a dumb mistake at Texas. He did what worked on the previous restart. I don't think that's more of a mistake. I guess maybe a mistake in execution, but when you're going against who is arguably the best driver in Cup right now with William Byron, you outdueled Kyle Larson. That says something. This is what I think we've wanted to see since 2021. Now, for me, it's keep this up. Like that's my outlook. Like the last 4 races of the season, keep competing up front for wins. Keep having those great restart stats, and instead of it being top 15s, keep it in the top 10. Go for top 5s, things like that. Set up 2024 to be a better season so that you guys aren't going from behind again like 23-11 has for the last 3 seasons. So to me, I think the season was a huge success. I don't see any reason at this point. He was one of the top 12 to 13 drivers this year, which I don't think we've ever been able to say about him.
Yeah, no, it's been a great season for 23-11, getting both their drivers in the playoffs, one of them through the round of 8. And Bubba, I know he doesn't have a win this year, but if you look at, compare this year to his previous 2 years, that's about the only thing he's deficient in this year. He's run really well. He's performed well under pressure here at the end of the season. I think he has a lot to be excited about, a lot to be proud of. I think he proved this last month or so that he belongs. Like, he took that leap from being a fringe playoff contender to now, this guy can be a legit playoff driver. The next leap is, hey, this guy has the potential to make it to the championship for it. That's the next step. So I'm with you, Jared. He needs to keep his eyes forward rather than backwards, keep pushing, because, the critics are always going to be there. I think he did a lot to silence them these past few weeks, even though he came up just short. Darian, what do you make of Bubba Wallace's, it was his best season to date, for sure. I was going to say breakout season, but it's been a slow burn getting here. He's been steadily improving bit by bit each of the last 3 years, especially. But what do you make of Bubba's second round exit?
Yeah, this is why I thought like his ceiling would be this type of performances, these types of seasons. And, I thought it would come, I think it was looking back now, it was naive to think it would come in 2021. But for 2022, I was like, okay, let's see what happens here. There were opportunities to win before, but then, had the slow starts. And this year, you had a bit of a slow start, but it didn't extend, as long as as far as the previous 2. So he was able to recover mentally as well as, the team performance wise. And then now you see what happens there. So I feel like this is going to be who Bubba Wallace is consistently. A guy who can not only consistently get you in the playoffs, whether it's through a win or points, but, could be one that will consistently be in that round of 12, round of 8 conversations. As far as like a championship contender, I would need to see a whole lot more for that. Like, I was even consistent on that, like when I first did a video on him back in 2018, where it's like, I don't think he has championship potential, but I think he can be a consistent playoff guy. And I think we're seeing the very beginning stages of that slowly but surely. It took a little bit, but hey, when you look up his stats and stuff, he has gotten better and better every single year for 2311.
One thing I respect about that whole race team, though, we've given Stuart Haas plenty of grief this year, and whether it's deserved or not, Tony Stewart not being at the track as much, kind of stands out. By contrast, Michael Jordan has been at like every playoff race this season. Like that's crazy to me. I
like that. Yeah. I mean, he has a whole lot more time on it. He doesn't own the Hornets anymore. So a whole lot more time. So, hey, but it's good that he doesn't just have his name and brand just like slapped on the car and doesn't really show up. I mean, like, it's still an awesome brand. So like, even if he didn't, I mean, it would just be cool that they're involved in NASCAR, but for him to do that, that's like an added much needed bonus.
I just think that also instills confidence. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of pressure having Michael Jordan breathing down your neck, wishing you luck right before you get behind the wheel, et cetera. But at the same time, I'd be confident if I knew Michael Jordan had that kind of was showing that kind of support to me, was that dedicated to what I'm trying to do. Like that would give me some confidence. And I think 2311 has had a great playoffs and it's been fun to watch. But those are the 4 eliminated: Bubba, Busch, Brad, and Chastain, which means actually here, before we get into the round of 8, and we'll give our brief championship 4 picks. I want to ask the chat. I want to ask you guys. It's a big debate. We know the Roval is expected to return next year. It'll be the fall race once again. But should the Oval return? Darian, you kind of touched on this during your hot take. I'll start with you. Should NASCAR bring the Oval back for the fall date, stick with the Roval, or should they maybe like alternate the two going forward?
See, I saw the case for alternating from Ryan Vargas, and he brought up some good points, definitely. But I think it's just this whole infield course era. Like I feel like it's over now. I feel like it's run its course. Like NASCAR fans, like we wanted more road courses on the schedule, sure, but like I think to this point, I think most would agree, okay, it's a tad bit too much. Let's start taking a few off here and there. And, with the exciting racing, ovals, intermediate tracks put on with the next gen, seems like a no-brainer to have a Charlotte oval race in the playoffs too. And, to bring back the old Bank of America 500 and stuff. So I think it's time for it to be back. I don't know. The Roval's ran its course to me.
Yeah. What do you think, Jarrett?
Yeah, So I want it to be known that I loved the Roval. Like once we ran the first race, I was very timid about liking it or not before, just because like that was one of the few changes I was not like super angry about, because I personally thought in the mid to late Gen 6 years Charlotte was not very good and we needed something different. But I think you can look at the Roval 2 ways with this. One, and I think this is a good way to look at it, is this did spark off a huge era of changing in the schedule that needed to happen. Now,
good point.
These things run their course. The other way you can look at it is, let's be real, the Roval was put onto the schedule to make up for the bad racing that the Gen 6 Oval had. That was probably the biggest reason it was, just because, everything else, attendance, TV, all that, would probably be better with better racing. And now it's a similar thing in the reverse. We have the better racing now at the ovals. Don't know yet if it'll be a long-term thing that it stays this way. But Charlotte right now is probably up there with Kansas as probably the best consistent racing in the NASCAR Cup Series with the next-gen car. I personally would want to go back to it just because if you're going to have Watkins Glen, if this is a long-term thing with Watkins Glen in the playoffs, we don't need 2 road courses. We don't need tons of wild cards over and over again. So I'm all for going back just because I think the racing would be better. I think more people would be inclined to watch. And overall, I think the sport would be better off. It run its course. It's 6 years now?
Yeah.
The feeling.
6.
Yeah, the feeling from this year. Look at the feeling from this year compared to the feeling going into 2018. It's wildly and vastly different.
Yeah. It's just like you said, it's ran its course for sure. I will always remember it though. That was my old roommate's first ever NASCAR race, and we watched it from start to finish. And I'm glad he got to see that last lap battle there. So that's cool.
Yeah, you made a great point though, Jarrett, that the Roval was brought in because the Gen 6 raced bad on mile and a halves. So maybe the oval should return because now the next gen races bad at road courses.
Exactly.
I mean, that's basic logic. I could see it happening, but we know the Roval, at least for now, is expected to return next year. I just asked the chat, would you rather see the oval or the Roval in the fall going forward? And just over half, 52% of the chat would prefer the oval make its return. 21% of our chat though thinks they should alternate, 1 year to the next. I could see that. Next year, having the Roval is kind of a question mark because they already got Watkins Glen now in the playoffs. So having the Roval as a second, almost superfluous road course playoff race, I don't know, doesn't really seem necessary to me, but that's where we're at. Before we move on too much further, let's look at the round of 8. William Byron with the points reset. William Byron's back atop the grid. He's plus 20 points. Truex is plus 15. He survives by the hair on his chin once again, making his way into the round of 8. Although, Truex, the 19 car, is out of the owners' playoffs. They actually got eliminated from the owners' playoffs.
Oh, wow.
The 9 team is still alive. So the
That's
9
right.
could still win the owners' championship. That's humiliating. I'm sorry. Denny Hamlin, not the 19, the 19 team. Hamlin is third on the grid, plus 11. Larson is plus 3. Buescher is -3. Tyler Reddick -8. Seabell is also -8. And Ryan Blaney, kind of the underdog, is -10. Real quick, I haven't even made a solid championship 4 pick at this point, but I'll throw this over to you guys. Jarrett, who's your championship 4?
I got mine. I don't think it changed too much. I will say Martin Truex Jr. is not in anymore. That team has been garbage the last 6 weeks. So mine are William Byron. I think he's the most obvious pick, the number 1 seed. Speed's good. Like something wild would have to happen, I think, especially with these tracks too coming up. Denny Hamlin, I think he's the only one that can match Hendrick's speed week in and week out. Kyle Larson, because I think he has the highest ceiling of any driver in this round. And then there's always one guy who's outside that top 4 I got to pick. And that, to me, is Chris Buescher. I think of those 4 outside, he's the best of them consistently. Looking back at numbers, I looked back today and the last about a half week or so. Bell, just to me, is not consistent enough, both statistically beforehand and this season. I can't trust him yet. He does have that clutch gene. So he would be the other one. It was between him and Buescher. Those were the 2 I was picking from. Blaney, I can't trust Ryan Blaney. Like he very well.
I don't trust Penske right now.
No.
I will tell you this: if Ryan Blaney makes the championship 4, he's the favorite because of just how good he is at Phoenix.
Good point.
Is crazy to say. And then Tyler Reddick, I looked back at his past at these tracks. He's never got it not too hot at Martinsville, and Homestead is that's his bread and butter one. But to me, Buescher's the one just because there is that upside right now that I have in him.
I respect it, but I don't fully agree. But Darian, I want to hear yours first real quick.
Yeah, but Byron's the first obvious choice. And then got to go with Hamlin, of course. Yeah, I was on the fence about this, but I think he'll ink out enough good solid finishes to just barely get himself in. I'm gonna go with Truex. So that's 3 above that I have making it. And that means I don't have Larson making the round of the championship 4 because I feel like one of these guys below the cut line is going to take it from him. They're going to take the final spot. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. Yes, Jared just mentioned the inconsistency, but, sometimes in the playoffs, we've seen guys, run inconsistent. Then all of a sudden, boom, they get a victory. So I'm banking on that. I'm banking he'll get a victory out of nowhere, whether it's, this weekend or the final round of 8 race. So yeah, that's what I think.
Man, well, we're going to have 3 very different championship 4s. Well, actually, Jarrett and mine are similar. I also have Byron, Hamlin, Larson. Larson's the one of those 3 I'm a little worried about just because he's only +3. And again, checkers or wreckers that could always rear its ugly head once again. Truex is +15. That in this round, that's a lot of points, I'll be honest. But 0 top 15 finishes the last 6 weeks. at some point, I think I have to hop off the bandwagon. But I don't think it's going to be Bell. I don't think it's going to be Buescher. Blaney. Blaney has a shot at these mile and a halves, but I don't know. I don't trust Penske. Tyler Reddick. Maybe I'm putting all my eggs in the Homestead Miami basket, but it's going to be him versus Larson. Like, we know that, right? The two of them are probably going to qualify top 5, probably going to run top 5, probably going to sweep the stages between the two. One of them's winning that race, right? I think Tyler Reddick's going to earn a lot of points there. I think he's going to earn a lot of points at Vegas this week. 23:11 is good at the mile and a halves typically. Martinsville is the one uncertainty, but anything can happen there. At the 2 mile and a halves, I think Reddick will be top 5 in both. So I'm going Reddick to grab that 4th spot. I love it. We have 3 very different predictions, and for very different reasons.
I'll play devil's advocate for Truex on one track, Homestead. Looking back at how he
was leading last year.
He was leading. Looking back, his last 5 races, his average finish there is 5th.
That's pretty great.
He's very good. He's led 168 laps in those races. I just, the hard part for me is getting past Larson. I mean, Larson, like 168 laps in 5 races is pretty damn good. And then I go back to Kyle Larson, and he's led almost 400 in that same span of races. Now, granted, you have to go back 1 extra to his 2017 to have his last 5 races, but still, this just speaks, I think, to Larson and his skill set. And last year was just insanely dominant. There was no stopping him. That for me is the only thing holding me past Truex. I know that 15 points is a lot, but he just finally scored his first 10 stage points of the playoffs, and they're at the track that is least like in any way the last 4 races of the season. I just I don't trust him at all.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. Boy, we are closing in on the top of the hour. We still got a long way to go, gentlemen. Let's talk about the TV ratings real quick. The Roval was on NBC Sunday, got a 1.3 rating, 2.28 million viewers, down 5% from last year. This is an interesting stat, though, and maybe is why it's surprising to some that the Roval will return next year. But the Roval is down 1 million viewers from 2018 when it debuted. That's a almost 30% drop in viewership since the first Roval race. So a lot of hype early on. Seems like that steam has run out a bit in recent seasons. 16% of viewership was in that key age 18 to 49 demographic, still a little lower than we're used to seeing even in NASCAR. The Xfinity race, which was also on Big NBC, did manage 1.21 million viewers. Similar demographics, though. 16% of their audience was in that key demo. So it's not a Cup or Xfinity problem. It's pretty universal across the board. It's just stock car racing, or at least NASCAR racing. But now I think it's time to hear what our loyal
16% said that it was great to 57 good. After that, 19 average, 4 below average, and 3 bad. So 73% are in the positive, 7% in the negative for that one. So mostly pretty positive when it comes to the Roval. The first comment was from Isaac. Positive, negative, or meme?
I'm gonna say negative.
Meme.
All right, let's see what we got here. I love the Roval for its first few years, but with the combo of road course racing not being as good and in the next gen, and how the Charlotte Oval races better with the next gen, it has become the weakest road course on the schedule. Get it out of here. And get the stage cautions road courses out while you're at it.
I knew it.
That was a much more analytical comment than I was expecting from the top comment. So well done.
Yeah. That one had to have been saved in a notepad and copy and pasted. Is that I don't know how.
He was ready for it.
But looking at some of the others here, Joseph says, glad to see Ricky going all out to represent pizza rolls. That's right.
Oh.
Stenhouse catching fire. I think it burned a hole through his car.
Oh my gosh. Hey, at least he has the 500.
That Mudkip says, respect to McDowell, who lost power steering, then got caught up in a crash, and he just told his crew to beat the hood out and let him keep going. My first car in the middle of winter in Illinois, lost power steering, and that was terrifying. And I was only
Oh,
going
you
like
told me
50
about
or
that.
60. I had like Popeye forearms, man. Respect to any driver who can drive these cars who are not made to not have power steering. Respect to all of them, because I could not do that. And that's not just a McDowell thing. That's any of them. Let's see. JGR for Life says, this race surprisingly wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was hard at times for people to drive the car, which I guess is better than it being too easy. And then last of these top ones, official Riley77 says 8 out of 10, way better than last year. I was surprised this race wasn't a complete wreck fest either. So
yeah, that's refreshing.
A lot of positive ones at the top. I'll scroll down a little bit here. Robo Cow 1 says, glad to see AJ Allmendinger win. Andrew Meyer left the lyrics for I'm Just a Ken. Interesting. Let's see. The Long Pig Chef says, better than anticipated, and I hate the Roval.
Hey, at least he's honest. Yeah.
Mr. Matthias says, is I, and that's how he put it.
Is I.
Okay, this isn't in the gutter ones, but this is pretty funny. Timmy Amanda here says single lugs on road course racing is for Europeans.
What?
Oh man. All right, well, let's get to the gutter here. So okay, I can read these. Cadillac John 1994 with one of the gutter comments here. Not a real road course. Busch was eliminated. The only highlight was when Hamlin got destroyed.
Dang. And thankfully he's locked in.
Dr. Detroit says it was great until Allmendinger won, just as bad as a Larson win. So 0 out of 10.
Whoa. Damn, there are that many Allmendinger haters out there.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And then this one just shocks me because it's nothing bad. Angelo Garcia, all he said, and he is the lowest comment, is Truex made it, I'm happy.
That's cancelable right there. That's so offensive. Let's get him out of here.
Hoping your favorite, or just congratulating your favorite driver in general.
We hate wholesome, supportive comments here.
That's the internet. That's the internet. They're like, bro, he's not gonna do this and that. Yeah, but that's funny.
But yeah, that's it. That's the poll.
Yep. And that'll conclude this edition of the famous Iceberg Poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
A couple things I want to touch on from the Xfinity race. Sam Mayer wins in the clutch. Wow. That was impressive. He led a lot of laps, but then he came out fifth after some varying pitch strategy at the end, still had to work his way through the lead, and he did so cleanly, more or less. I thought so. Congrats to Sam. It making it to the round of 8, third win of the year.
I just realized something too. So Sam, all 3 of his career Xfinity wins on a road course, same as as Allmendinger in Cup, with 3 of his wins coming on a road course. So I just thought about that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What do you think of that, Jared? I mean, I was very impressed. That, like, to me, like his other wins, obviously the Watkins Glen win where he kind of just drove through Ty Gibbs. That win wasn't that impressive. The Road America one was just crazy. People were wrecking or spinning out everywhere. This win though was legit. Like, I feel like this was his most impressive win to date, in my opinion.
I think so too, and I really am getting the vibes from him by just one, how clutch he is. Granted, I think we found his bread and butter. Now I think it's just building on that. But I don't know if it's just me, he feels this season a lot like Noah Gragson did the season before he took off. Remember, there was like the conversation around him was like, oh, should he come back? He hasn't performed in a car that should be performing. He hasn't won. Gets that first win. Floodgates start opening at the end of the year. It's kind of, not a 1-to-1 similarity, but it's pretty similar to what Gragson did. So that's how I kind of see what he did, because it was definitely deserved win. It wasn't like a drive through anyone kind of win. Beat the best of the best out there, and so for me, that's all I can ask for from him. Again, we keep talking about these young drivers need improvement. We've seen that improvement from Sam.
Yeah, just been waiting on it. Yeah, just been waiting on it for a while. It's great to see it finally come to fruition. His potential. Because whenever he would race Ty Gibbs and stuff back in the Arcus series and stuff, like you were always expecting like, okay, these two will probably have to duke it out for wins and stuff. And right now, Ty Gibbs is in the Cup series, but I think down the line, Sam Mayer would definitely be an Xfinity. And also, just to say one more thing too before we move on, he's had Smithfield as an associate sponsor on that car sometimes. So no, he's not going to SHR. So just want to stop that. But I mean, it's been on the car sometimes. It's been on the car sometimes already.
Yeah,
Reckless speculation.
Why? Yeah, I don't know. I do want to give. We have to mention though, Jeb Burton. I think he stayed out. I believe. Hail Mary and just sent it a little too hard. Sorry, I lagged for a second there. Sent it a little too hard into turn one, took out Justin Allgaier. Felt for Allgaier. He didn't deserve to be taken out, but that's NASCAR playoffs. Desperation sets in, guys. Guys make mistakes. Guys, who's your championship for Xfinity? Just real quick.
Oh,
John Hunter Nemechek.
okay.
That's a safe one. Oh,
Justin Allgaier.
Okay.
I'm gonna go out there on this one.
Oh,
Sam Mayer.
Damn. Well, no,
Okay.
I was gonna say the exact same ones too.
I don't know why.
Austin Hill?
I don't know why. I don't know why. I just. I'm probably wrong.
There's always some type of surprise, right? In these
I think
championship
Nemechek is a safe pick. You gotta go Austin Hill. He's plus 21. You got a couple mile and a halfs coming up. Allgaier's, I think, a safe third pick. Been there, done that. I think that fourth spot is totally up in the air. I was leaning Cole Custer, but you could convince me a number of different directions. I'll stick with Custer for now. I was thinking about Creed, even though he hasn't won a race yet. And then the news today now makes me wonder if Creed's head is fully focused on playoffs right now. So I'll go Custer for that final spot for now. Again, we kind of have different Xfinity championship fours as well. I think that's interesting. Gentlemen, we are just past the top of the hour, halfway through, which means it's time for our first super chat stage break. If one of y'all wants to time me here for the next few minutes, let's read what you guys have been telling us in the comment section. First one came earlier this afternoon from Bailey, and they said, along with what you said about Gregson yesterday, Eric, Ford rejected Larson for controversy. Why would they bring in someone who just had controversy? Yeah, I didn't see this comment until just now, but I sort of addressed that on my hot take. Is that's one of the reasons why Gregson to Stewart-Haas just doesn't fit for me. Maybe it'll happen. Clearly they're talking about it, but it just doesn't really make sense to me. NASCARson says, NWP guys, why does NASCAR need good ratings? I rarely watch on TV because I can't stay glued to it for a long time. And I prefer radio.
Okay. Well,
was it last week that? Yeah, last week I suggest that maybe NASCAR completely rethink how they package their sport.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're ready for something that radical yet, but TV for now is still where the most and consistent eyeballs are.
Yeah.
But sure, young viewers aren't tuning into cable TV nearly as often as they used to. Isaac, could the reason MTJ isn't performing be that he's still grieving Sherry's passing? I don't want to speculate on that.
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on that.
That's a very sad situation for sure. I know Truex released that one statement, hasn't talked about it publicly since, to my knowledge, and that's his prerogative. So, we all we can see is what he does on the racetrack. That team has not been good. I don't really want to speculate on personal reasons like that, but appreciate the comment. Jimmy Leo sent 5. Hi, guys. I got breaking news. Sheldon Creed not returning to RCR in 2024. Yes.
Oh, it was sad at the time, wasn't it?
The second half of the show. Yeah, that was one of those comments that was coming in before the show even began. They were all debating them before we even got on the Zoom call to start prepping. Thank you, Matthew Brown sent 10. He said, I'm telling you guys, Hocevar's first stop is Spire. Next stop, Hendrick Motorsports to the 48. Alex's farewell tour starts now. Sorry, but Ally can't save you anymore, Alex. Whoa.
Damn.
Where's Danny to play defense when you need him?
Tell me why. I knew somebody was going to link Hocevar to that Hendrick stuff, and I knew the first driver was going to be Bowman.
I mean, if there was any, what did Bowman's contract? He just signed an extension for like 3 more years, right? So it's going to be a while. If it happens, it's going to take a while. Boosted Juice. They ask, please read my poem on stream. It's number 2 on the poll. Also been watching y'all for a few years now. Keep up the good work. Hope to meet you guys someday. Well, thank you for the support. And this is your first super chat. Really appreciate you tuning in. Jared, I don't know. Do you still have the poll hooked up or pulled up from earlier?
I'm pulling it up right now. I'll check. Give me the name again.
It was Boosted Juice.
I don't see it, but I will look for it.
Okay, Jarrett will look for it. Hopefully we find it. Thank you for the support. Boosted Juice. That's a great name. Bradley sent 5 earlier. How does NASCAR TV ratings determine the age demographic? Is it like they use your birthday through your TV account or something like that? No, it's purely an estimation based on homes that have Nielsen boxes, like Nielsen families. So like just because you watched, unless you're streaming, I guess, doesn't mean you're going to physically be part of the count. It's all an estimation. Did you find it, Jarrett?
It's long. I can read a couple, I think.
Give us the first stanza.
Roses are red, window nets are pink. After this race, I don't know what to think. Let's see. Stage 1 was bland, and Reddick is the man. He took the flag, but the stage was a drag.
Oh my
Stage
God.
2 ends in caution. Elliott taking the dub. Unfortunately, he ain't racing for the cup. All right, well, we're starting to grasp his straw. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 more stanzas like this. I appreciate it, and I did read through this one, so I was wondering if that was the one, but
That's incredible.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Boosted Juice. Just a few more real quick here from Blake earlier. In 2024, you should lose points if your suck pick wins. Oh, he's coming for you, Jared.
Yeah.
Shadowfire Sign says, I think Ford gets snubbed of any championship for representative. Wouldn't that be last year Logano was. I was about to say, wouldn't that be the second year in a row? But I forgot Logano won the title last year. I'm gonna do two more real quick here. One more from Shadowfire. 5 and 11 win the first 2 this round, but who wins Martinsville is the real question. Truex has 2 wins there, but can he clutch? 24 worst case points in. That's a fair analysis, I think, for sure. And then Fred Dog says, of the 4 that got KO'd this round, which one is most disappointing? Kyle Busch had better numbers, bigger name, but I expected more out of the 1 car after last year. Yeah, Kyle Busch feels like the biggest disappointment considering how the year started. 3 wins in the first half or third of the season. But you're right. Chastain being in the championship 4 last year, I'm sure they hope to at least come close to replicating that. It's between those two. You know, Bubba, I think getting to the round of 12 was an impressive run. Brad, after last year, getting to the round of 12 was impressive. It's between Ross and Busch. I would lean towards Ross being a tad more disappointing just because you wanted to back up that championship 4 speed last year and never really came that close, unfortunately. We've got a bunch of other super chats. We will get to the rest of them, I promise, at the very end of the show. Thank you all so much for your very generous support. I just saw this one pop up from Phoebe. The people demand a dirt roval race.
Oh my gosh.
Do the people really demand that? I don't know about that one.
I've never heard of that one. Wait, what people in your imaginary
people.
In his own little world they came up with that?
Yeah. Thank you all so much, though, for super chatting. We will get to the rest of those very, very soon. Gentlemen, there is a slight change in the wind. The air pressure or the air temperature dropping quickly. I think I've seen a ghost. Darian, what time is it?
And it's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what is on the list this evening?
Well, we got a few things. First off, Spotify let me put a poll up so I can actually shout y'all out who voted on it. So I asked who they think would be the long-term number 1 driver at Hendrick. Of course, there are 4 options. 4th, wild guess, anyone who finished last with 0% of the votes?
Bowman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. 3rd with 25% of the votes. Any guesses? I'm actually really interested to see what y'all think the guesses are.
Elliott. The haters are out.
Yeah, I'll go with Elliott.
All right, it's Elliott.
Oh,
2nd, 29% of the vote, William Byron, and 46% of the vote, Kyle Larson being the top Hendrick dog. So,
right now that's fair. Well,
yeah.
I mean, Byron's had a better year this season, but you got to look at the last 3 years or so cumulatively. I'd give Larson the edge.
If he wins a championship, Byron, then yeah, it's up for debate, I feel like.
Yeah. Then it really becomes interesting.
Some news from J-Ski. The inaugural Chicago street course race delivered $109 million of economic impact, with 52% of those at the race traveling from outside of the city. So based on pretty much every
I was one of
metric.
those people.
Yeah, from basically every metric, you helped it be a success.
Yeah.
On top of how many people watched it in person. And
There was a Nando's chicken place a couple blocks from the Bean that I went to back nights because it was the only place there on Michigan that wasn't packed. So they got their money's worth. I was eating good at Nando's those couple of nights.
And it is so weird. I mean, you guys were there like maybe 90 miles away at my family's in 21, and it is not normally like that time of year. Like it was a huge outlier. So I think next year weather-wise will be better. Hopefully it goes off without a hitch. Now something else that we hope goes off without a hitch is the Homestead playoff race, which will be titled the Forever 400, presented by Mobile One.
Oh yeah, in honor of Kevin Harvick. Yeah,
pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
And then the last two kind of can have a little more added on if you guys want. I know that this one Eric will want added on. Matt Kenseth has become a competition advisor for Legacy Motor Club.
I like it. Yeah, I do think it's interesting that he's going back to Toyota, considering how things ended there. And he's going back to directly mentor Eric Jones. Like they're going to be hand in hand. He's coaching him along. Like that's, I think I said this in my show. To my knowledge, they didn't have any like real animosity towards each other. It wasn't a personal thing between those two. But if there ever was any, conflict there, they must all be water under the bridge for this to work out. But I'm excited. I can't see how this hurts Legacy. How big a difference will Kenseth make? I don't know, but he's not going to hurt him. This can only be good for that team, I think.
And then the Auto Club teardown process has begun. And based on some of the new, I don't know if additions to the plan or changes to the plan of what NASCAR has, it looks like they're going to be able to fit a track about the size of Martinsville in the same configuration on the remaining owned land they have. They are not going to be using the front stretch. That area, I think, is getting bulldozed over as well for parking. But the reconfiguration process for Auto Club has begun.
It's interesting. I think it was NASCAR Man who was sort of analyzing some of the blueprints, the aerial views, etc. And I'm just surprised if, in fact, they do end up going with sort of like a Martinsville type track over there. Wasn't the part of the point of the original plan that they could reuse or keep up some of the grandstands, some of the suites? They wouldn't have to tear all that stuff down. They're tearing all that stuff down. Now they're going to have to rebuild certain elements of the track completely. Like this feels like it's becoming a more expensive reconfiguration than originally planned, which could be another reason why it's taking a lot longer and it's still sort of in limbo. I don't know. That part was interesting to me.
Yeah, just sucks we have that type of track leaving, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
And none of the plans talked about and the ones NASCAR Man brought up, nothing is confirmed still with that track other than it's being torn down.
Yeah, we don't know anything else after.
That's the part that kind of scares me is so they're not going to be using what they wanted before. They can't salvage anything they had before. They're probably going to lose more money than they thought they would on that end of it and not make as much money as they wanted to. Like, I get that they're wanting to work on it. It's still a NASCAR developed project at the moment, but we've seen it before where plenty of tracks have NASCAR funding or NASCAR backing or people. The big one I think of that not many really think of anymore is the Canadian Motor Speedway. I mean, that was looking like a surefire bet in the early 2010s to be a NASCAR track, and that land looks completely the same today as it did 15 years ago. So I hope they can make something out of it because I think if you fix the short track package, it can be a success, but it does suck that we're losing a badass track possibly for nothing.
Yeah. A track that was really it had matured very nicely over the past 5-10 years, especially with this new car.
Yeah,
for sure. Isaac, I see you teasing me in the chat saying Kenseth's going to drive the 42 one of these last 4 weeks. I wish they'd bring him in as a sub, but that's not happening. But that's, I guess, is that going to do it for the storm? Has it passed?
I think so. It was a quick one.
Yes, sir. And that'll do it for this edition of the famous lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now back to the show.
A flash flood. We've got a lot of silly season and free agency to get to in a moment, so we're going to make this segment a little quicker, but I know fans are excited about this. A few days ago, it was confirmed that iRacing has acquired the NASCAR console game license from Motorsport Games. They are planning to release an all-new title in 2023. 5. Gentlemen, I know we are all excited about this. All three of us grew up playing NASCAR video games in the mid 2000s, turned us into the fans we are today. I'm excited that the next generation may finally get a quality console game. It's been a while. Some of the Heat games were decent, but even that, it's been a few years since we got one of those. Jarrett, how big a deal could this be?
Huge. I think just because of that working partnership. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a one-to-one port over of just iRacing to a console. But you have to think that they have the data of the tracks. They have data of tracks that of layouts of tracks that we don't even have anymore. I don't think it's going to be nuts. Like, you kind of look at what they did with Monster Games, with the World of Outlaw game, and it seemed to be, at least from what I could tell, a pretty well received game. A lot of people liked the direction they were going in. I would assume that NASCAR would want maybe to give them a bigger budget on that too. So I'm excited for it. The first game. My expectations. This is how low it's gotten. But for a good launching off point, because we didn't have it with Ignition, we didn't have it with the Heat games. In my opinion, NASCAR 2011 was an awful game. I get that it was fun online, but it was so janky. Just give me a competent game that I can play alone, online, anything like that. That's the bare minimum. But I am gonna tell this to NASCAR fans: keep the expectations high. Like, do not put it, well, don't do the dumb spend money on this one to help the next one. I hate that trope. I hate it. I hate that line. I hate everything about it, because it's literally just mindless consume. No, don't do that. But I think the expectation is 2-3 games down the line, this should be on par with some of the, I won't say greats like the Thunder games, but this should be on par with some of the good EA games. They have the abilities. I don't think NASCAR is going to at least I hope NASCAR doesn't lock them into an every year kind of thing. The expectation should be high.
Yeah, just as long as they take their time, I'm cool with it. I'm glad it's not going to be released until 2025. I don't have to rush something out. Yeah, we're going to be a couple more years without a NASCAR game, but I mean, I'd rather have no game than a horrible game. I think most would feel that way too. So, and it's time. It's about time we finally get this side of the sport fixed, because there's so much that has been left on the table for so long. I mean, this is long before the Ignition days. I mean, sure, we had good games and stuff, but it just was never to the level of the Thunder games and stuff. And now it could be nostalgia, it could be because some of the younger fans, they're like NASCAR 14 or 15, that's their game and stuff, right, or whatever. So it's different opinions on that. So I'm not just going to discredit it. I feel like the Thunder games are way better, but other people could think otherwise. But in conclusion, thank goodness we finally have this going. And also too, from this coming from iRacing, I feel like it's come full circle, because one of the reasons Papyrus stopped making NASCAR games for after NR 2003 was because EA bought the exclusive license, and they later used that source code to create iRacing. And now iRacing, using the similar source code, is now going to be producing a NASCAR video game. So truly full circle over 20 years later.
Yeah, pretty cool. I was laughing at Jupiter Rain in the comments saying if it's not on the PlayStation 2, then it's going to be bad. PlayStation 2 was a goated console, no doubt.
To be fair, the way NASCAR games have been, that's probably the standard at this point.
Hey, thank God for the PS2 emulator on PC. Thank goodness. I'm able to play those games high quality.
I'm looking right over the camera at my original Xbox that has Thunder 04 in it that I was playing this past weekend.
That's funny. That's awesome.
But it's sad. It's so sad. Like,
so hopefully we're saved.
It could be worse. We could be IndyCar.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Penske. Oh, it looks great. Everything.
Yeah, there's a new trailer. Did you see that?
It only showed no gameplay.
Did you all see the update yesterday?
No,
I didn't.
It might not even happen.
Oh no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The game might not even happen, even though there's a trailer there. But I heard it's going to be the best game ever.
Oh gosh, and I'm convinced they only saw the trailer and they don't understand. Like, bro, they didn't show any gameplay. That's a whole another conversation.
Cautiously, I don't want to say cautiously. I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic. NASCAR and iRacing obviously have a great relationship. iRacing is competent in many of the other products they put out. I'm excited to see what they can do on the console side. This is a huge opportunity to engage younger viewers and potential fans. And honestly, I guess we're still younger fans, but I'm excited. I don't play video games nearly as much as I used to. I'll be all over a quality console NASCAR release like that. I've been clamoring for one of those since college at least.
It'll be great to finally stream a game again on my channel.
I just remember what Danny said a couple months back. He's like, I'm gonna be in my 30s before a good NASCAR game comes out. And it's like comes out in 25. I'm like, when in 25?
Yeah, when? Yeah,
would it be 26? What are we looking at here?
But that's exciting news. Everyone's very hopeful about that. We got a little ways to wait though. Let's talk silly season, gentlemen. There've been a lot of announcements since our last show. Let's start with some of the stories, the moves that are confirmed, beginning with Hailie Deegan. Last week it was confirmed she will move up to the Xfinity Series to race full time for AM Racing in the number 15 Ford. Quick thoughts, Jarrett. Expectations for Deegan next year in Xfinity.
20th, 25th. I mean, just don't wreck. That's that thing. Get seat time. It's the same thing as trucks, I guess. Just seat time, improve, show them improvement.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me. What about you, Darian?
Yeah, don't start racking off all these DNFs. Otherwise, yeah, no, just keep the car clean and stuff. Bring it home. I'm not really expecting a whole lot. I mean, we don't really have a whole lot, a body of work like that in trucks. So like Jared just said, get the seat time and stuff. I mean, look, I don't blame her and stuff. I know some people are like, oh, she's not ready. But like, hey, look, if an opportunity arises to move up the ranks, then we would all take it. So
exactly.
But I mean, we can judge the performance though. So
yeah, and my problem is her performance in trucks the last 3 years. She has not gotten better. You look at the stat sheet; she's virtually identical all 3 years. There's no clear improvement. Even the eye test, there's no real improvement or progression. So that does concern me. But she did well in her first and one and only Xfinity start last year. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm also happy to hear that Ford will be throwing a little more support behind AM Racing. So hopefully those cars are a little quicker. I'm hoping she can eventually run top 15 consistently, but maybe that's a big ask. We'll see. Moving quickly though to last night, Carson Hocevar, friend of the show, confirmed to be going to the Spire Motorsports number 77 Cup car. Darian, what should we expect from Hocevar? He'll be 21 years old at the start of next year. One of the youngest drivers in Cup.
Yeah, look, the rookie standards are a whole lot different compared to the early 2000s. So, I feel like, look, it took Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, 99 Cup Series starts until they got their first win. So I don't know. It should be the same expectations with Hocevar. I know he's ran pretty good with Legacy Motor Club, was able to get that car from, running in the back to, solid finishes, in his select starts. But again, he is still just a rookie and stuff too. So like, if he doesn't, perform too well out the gate, then I feel like a perfect excuse is, look, it's Spire. They're expanding. They're doing a heavy expansion this year. So it might be something similar to Colleague. Remember when Colleague did their expansion? Look what happened. You felt like, is this team spreading thin a little bit? I feel like Spire will experience something similar. And yeah, I feel like though he will surprise us though. I feel like there's gonna be races where it's like, damn, like he started in the back, but then this car is able to run up front consistently. So I think we'll see that definitely.
I think he has the raw speed. We'll just see pretty quick if he has the patience, the maturity, like how much has he grown in the past year? Because I said this on my show today. I feel like from this time last year to now, his brand has completely flipped. Like a year ago, people were bashing him, clowning him for the dumb things he was doing on track. Yeah. To now, he's one of the top, prospects in the sport. And everyone's like, oh yeah, no, I get it. He should be in Cup. It's like, whoa, that was a hell of a flip. Mm-hmm. I'm with you about Spire. Don't know how much better they'll be next year with that Game Bridge support. I just want to see Hocevar get better. What I do like about this is that this is the first time now Corey LaJoie, and you can even throw in Zane Smith now, but Corey LaJoie will finally have teammates, or at least a teammate that I think can truly put some pressure on him, that light a fire in him. We'll finally start to see where Corey LaJoie stacks up against other young drivers.
Well, and for me, my expectation, people are going to laugh at it, but we said the same thing about Noah Gragson, and actually statistically he did not meet this. Do better than Ty Dillon. And I get people are going to laugh at that, but Ty Dillon, not statistically a great driver even for his equipment, but he is a veteran who's been there a while, who more often than not keeps the car clean, doesn't really get involved in stuff unless it's out of his control. Do that. Do better than Ty Dillon did, and just improve from there. I mean, this team's not going to be built up into a Hendrick-esque powerhouse overnight. It's going to take a long time. Just steady improvement. That's what I want to see, and I want to see that improvement throughout the year too. Not just, oh yeah, we run 25th and we run 25th every week. No, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're running kind of 30th, 25th, somewhere around there, and now we're popping up in the top 15. That 77 car is finishing on the lead lap more. That's what I want to see out of him.
Yeah, that would be great. Today, moving on, Sheldon Creed and RCR confirmed that they will part ways at the end of this season. Creed is out of the two. I guess first question, Darian, who do you think gets the 2 car next year? Because RCR did say that they will announce the next driver or the future plans for the Welland number 2 car at a later date. Who do you think gets that seat?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Ty Dillon. I know, like, I
the
don't know.
devil.
I think it's just going to be, one of those deals where it's like, let's keep it in the family. Ty Dillon's looking for another opportunity and stuff. And then, that announcement comes, a day after it's announced Ty Dillon won't return to the 77. So I don't know. It's just, the timing's interesting for sure. But a personal favorite of mine, and somebody just pointed him out in the chat. I would love to see what Parker Retzlaff can do.
Yeah.
Just because, they have that alliance with Jordan Anderson Racing, has that RCR alliance.
Yes.
So that would be my most favorite move, but most likely though, I think it's going to be a Ty Dillon announcement, and just like most fans are going to be like pissed. So
I think the Retzlaff rumor has some merit to it, because someone I know sent me a tweet from like a week ago. Retzlaff did the little pen emoji tweet the other day.
That's
so
right.
I mean, the timing, announcing this right after the 77 news is interesting regarding Ty Dillon, but announcing this a week after Retzlaff's little teaser, also interesting. Wouldn't rule that out. Jarrett, where do you think Sheldon Creed is heading? I saw a tweet from Lee Spencer that seemed to suggest, she's a reporter, Lee Spencer, that seemed to suggest that he might be a favorite to go to Joe Gibbs Racing and fill one of their Xfinity slots. But what do you think? Do you think that would be a good move for him for both sides?
That's the only place I could see an upgrade being.
Yeah.
If not, I would have stayed at RCR. The only other one I can think of is maybe Colleague. There's openings. So those are the only 2 I can think of. Colleague, just because it makes sense with openings. They would want to get somebody who is a good, competent driver who more often than not can probably run where their equipment lets them. If it's JGR, no excuses. None at all.
Gotta win.
Yeah, you got to win in that car. I mean,
yeah.
If not, people are going to be like, why is Trevor Bayne not in this car? Because he was running for wins.
Or Ryan Truex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did get a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry.
You're good.
I thought there was another point there. Past Sheldon Creed, I think those are the things we know for sure. Creed is out. We know that Deegan has a new ride. Hocevar has a new ride. There's a lot of speculation out there right now, and I'm trying to remember where some of these rumors first originated. The Chandler Smith recent rumors came from Matt Weaver, who writes for Sportsnaut. He wrote that Chandler Smith and his agent are exploring a potential return to Toyota, potentially to drive for JGR in the Xfinity series. Jarrett, I don't know, try to make sense. Well, before I throw it to you, I'm trying to make sense of all this, because a year ago, Chandler Smith was like next in line. He was a Toyota prospect, and he chose to sign a 3-year deal with Colleague that now supposedly he needs to be bought out of if he's going to leave the team. Like, if you're like, I don't understand. And he even said, I went back and found a quote from him last year. He said that Toyota offered him an Xfinity seat. He turned it down to go to Colleague. Now he wants to go back. Maybe I'm missing something, and I probably am. We don't know everything, but this seems a little wild to me, right? Like, what do you make of this, Jarrett?
Well, it would explain why those at Colleague that have talked about it or been asked about it seem, I don't know if snippy is the right word, but just not necessarily happy with it, not upfront with it. But that's the part I'm trying to make sense of is did he get offered like a crap Toyota ride that was just like sort of here you go, buddy, here's your consolation prize. And then at that point, like, you better put up if it is, if you are going back to Toyota, if you're going to JGR, you better put up as well, because not only is it, oh, you're leaving a team that could do pretty well that you've won at? It's, oh, and they also had to spend probably way more money than your results at the moment are worth to get you there. So like, you better put up, especially since that, and then you got colleague that took that shot on you and you leave them after a year. That's the part that baffles me on it. If it is JGR, like people are saying, I think they said Matt Weaver had talked about it. I trust him on knowing that side of it. I mean, it'd be the right move. It's just a matter of performance now.
The right move for who? For Chandler or for JGR? Or
Chandler.
both?
Oh, Chandler.
Okay, yeah.
JGR can get anyone that they want in that car.
That's the thing. Like supposedly JGR would need to buy out the last 2 years of Chandler's colleague contract. So now he's an expensive free agent. When JGR could go get Sheldon Creed, which it sounds like they might, they could also reach into their ARCA system and get Jesse Love, who just won 10 freaking ARCA races. Like, I know funding and maybe Chandler, he's got some sponsor support. I don't know what he has or doesn't have, but if he has some funding, that changes things. But like, I just don't think Chandler has much leverage here. Like, sure, Gibbs and Toyota would like to have him in their system. Who wouldn't? He's a good young driver, but they don't need him right now. And he's expensive as far as I can tell. So I don't get it.
Yeah. And it's also too complicated when you have guys in the pipeline. I know you mentioned Jesse Love, but Corey Heim in trucks has been awesome.
That's like, probably honestly, a better example. Yeah.
Honestly, like if I'm Joe Gibbs, like, look, Chandler Smith is good. He's a terrific prospect, but like I feel like the reason maybe he might have moved was like, hey, look, maybe the grass might be greener on the other side. I might be more like way more of a priority within a team, but I think he's also maybe starting to realize that, hey, look, it's still colleague. Like they're not terrible, but they're certainly not up to the level of a Joe Gibbs. So maybe he's starting to realize that maybe, or it could be like what Jared had talked about. Maybe he was offered a crap ride. Like I'm not saying Sam Hunt Racing is crap, but they do have that alliance and they do have a couple of drivers. Exactly. So. In conclusion, I feel like JGR, just go for either. I got 3 options. I feel like Trevor Bayne. Well, no, Ryan Truex is my number 1 option, just because like he's already a veteran guy and stuff, and he did win. Trevor Bayne, and if you want to bring a guy from another series, if you want to develop him more, Corey Heim.
My guess is they're going to go with whoever makes the most financial sense because they're losing Sammy Smith, Pilot Flying J. They're going to need someone with funding.
Yeah, whoever can offer the most money.
Creed might bring some. Chandler might bring enough to make that make sense. Maybe Jesse Love or Corey Heim, but that could be also what holds Heim back from a JGR seat. I could see that being the case. But it's interesting. Some more speculation. We've been talking a lot about colleague, but after Allmendinger's win, everyone's talking about who gets the 16 next year. They say they've already made a decision. I saw a tweet earlier today that made it sound like maybe they're still mulling things over. So there's still a shot AJ comes back. We'll see. I guess real quick, Darian, who do you think is most likely to drive the colleague 16 next year?
I think it's going to be boring. I'm just going to go with AJ. I think it's going to be a boring one. Like, I know I would personally want him in Xfinity, but I think that would just be the easier move probably, especially at this point in the season. But hey, if they've been working on something for months, then it'll be something totally different, probably something out of left field.
I say they go back to somebody that they've worked with before, just because I have a feeling that what happened before is not going to linger too much into the future. I know he's been rumored to a different ride here. We'll talk about him in a moment, but maybe, especially if it's part-time drivers, Noah Gragson. And I don't think it's the right move, but it would make sense.
See, I still feel like there's a great shot they're going to do a part-time or to have a bunch of drivers drive that car. No idea. It just feels like that's something they might do. And if that's the case, yeah, who knows? Unless he ends up with another team. Noah's an option. Even Ty Dillon, if he brings funding, could be an option. AJ will do the road courses. We'll have to wait and see. That one's interesting. I mean,
is he? I'm sorry. He keeps coming up, and they keep talking about how he's working and getting sponsorship. He almost had it set up. He's working on it now. Like, is he? Basically married to Toyota on this, or can
probably
he do
not.
what he wants? That's my question. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't have him jump in. He has Cup experience. He's,
sure. If he's got the sponsorship, sure. If he doesn't have sponsorship, I wouldn't.
No,
unless it's Daytona Daytona maybe, but then I was going to say put Justin Haley, but they don't have Justin Haley anymore, so never mind.
Looking up his age, he's only 32 years old. He'll be 33 next year. He's not an old guy by any means.
Yeah, not
Worth
bad.
a shot, especially if it's part-timers.
Yeah, no doubt. That's fair. Last one we want to talk about a little bit. I mentioned this at the top of the show, but on Door Bumper Clear, Bob Pockris, out of nowhere, I didn't see this coming, name dropped Noah Gragson as a potential candidate to drive the number 10 for Stewart-Haas Racing next year. All signs seem to point towards Almirola retiring, although if you ask him, he has still not made a final decision. So everything's very much in limbo. But I mean, Jarrett, I already said my piece. Do you think Noah Gragson to Stewart-Haas makes sense?
No. And if it's Tony Stewart making the decision, hell no. I like Noah. I think he deserves another chance. I think he deserves another chance in Cup to actually be in a decent ride. This ain't it. And it's not even an SHR thing. Is it? He would not fit. I should say it's not about the SHR equipment. He would not fit in that culture. Tony Stewart, especially if he's involved in any way, I don't think would like to put up with any of Noah's stuff. And I don't think even Noah's really that out there or anything. And Bob also said it's a different person every week. So Noah's probably the one that came through the pipeline this week of rumors. And next week it's going to be somebody else. It's going to be, Todd Blue or something. I don't know. I'm at the point where I almost think it's more likely that Almirola comes back another year. I'm almost at that point because
I think the longer it goes,
I mean, what driver are they going to get that is decent even to be in that car or deserving to be in that car at this point? And the fact that he still is not, he and the team have not talked at all. Like colleague has said, like, we have this planned out. We have what we want. We know what we're doing. There's nothing like that from SHR and Almirola. And he did the same thing last year, just not as long. So I think the bacon car is back another year at the moment, and just because it's the only option there is that it lasts more than a week.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. It's the only rumor that is consistent. I mean, we've heard everyone's name mentioned from Cole Custer to now Noah Gragson. Was Ty Dillon ever mentioned for this seat? Maybe not.
Probably.
Maybe that was, I'm thinking of calling.
Everyone is.
Yeah, Eric, you were probably mentioned for this seat.
Shoot, at this point, I love bacon. Put me in, coach.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I have no idea what's going to happen, but you're right. The longer it goes, I feel like Almirola is almost backing himself into a corner. Like at some point, I wonder if there'll be he's a nice guy. Will he feel guilty holding Stuart-Haas hostage this long?
So nice.
Yeah, I'm back.
Didn't he say when he came back, he might be back for more than 1 year? Didn't he say that in 22? He kind of left that
something like that. I think he did kind of leave that door open.
Yeah.
I know family is hugely important for him, but if his family is able to come to the races and if Smithfield continues to take care of them, man, I think that's what's making this hard. I think part of him would like to take a full step back and just enjoy life without the hustle and bustle of the road. But at the same time, I think Smithfield and Stewart-Haas are just giving him a deal or are continuing to put deals in front of him that are really hard to say no to.
Yeah. And he had even said, he said publicly, he had, backtracked the retirement talks, the whole retirement decision because, I had a conversation with his family and stuff. And they were like, hey, we want to keep going and stuff. So he's just fulfilling their wishes, I guess. But one final thing, though. Noah Gragson to the 10, not only does it not make sense, but if he were to go with the to the 10 and Smithfield is still a sponsor, it would be extremely bad for his health. You know why? He was eating all those Baconators and now he's going to even more bacon. Like, bro, towards the end there, I was like, he's got to lay off the Baconators a little bit, bro. Just saying. But hey, look, Gragson to the 10, though, yeah, that makes no sense. And honestly, that would be one of the I'm intrigued by that. And part of me does want to see it because, I don't know, just the implosion. Oh my gosh, that would be insane. And especially if you're going through a rebuild. But yeah, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
I don't think it'd be great for Stewart-Haas. It'd be good for Gragson. Let's be honest. If Noah Gragson goes from, struggling in Legacy Motor Club equipment out of the sport to Stewart-Haas, even with them struggling, that would be a win for Gragson. I'd be happy for him, but I don't think it's the right move, the right fit for SHR. Guys, I think it's that time. We are nearing the end of the show. I think it's time to talk about the round of 8, which begins this weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, begins not only for the Cup cars, but actually the Xfinity cars. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time in these playoffs where the Cup and Xfinity series sort of align as far as where they're at in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So a little easier to keep track of, perhaps. But let's get to it. A little weekend preview. Ryan Reed, did you guys see this? He's back in the Xfinity series driving the 66 for MBM. Haven't seen him in a few years, I don't think.
He won Daytona twice, correct? Twice?
At least once.
Yeah.
Lily Diabetes car, honestly, kind of iconic in those mid-2010s.
Yeah. Chat, confirm that for me, please. I'm pretty sure he won twice, though. But continue.
I'll go in chronological order. The Xfinity race on Saturday is the Alsco Uniforms 302. It's 201 laps. Starts at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on USA and PRN. Josh Berry, Taylor Swift's hometown. This is written in the notes here. From Taylor Swift's hometown of Hendersonville, Tennessee, is the defending winner. Sorry, every other sport's doing it. We have to mention.
Yeah, At least we didn't put anything in there like Pat McAfee with Mr. Pfizer.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
On Sunday, the South Point 400 is the Cup race. It's 267 laps. The stages are broken down into 80, 85, 102. Starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on NBC and PRN. I forgot to mention the weather, but for both days, it's going to be mid-80s, 0% chance of rain, nice and sunny out in the desert. The defending winner of the Cup race is Joey Logano. Yeah, he won this last year, I guess, en route to his second Cup Series championship, something to keep an eye on. Darian, we're in Vegas, so who does Vegas have as the betting favorites coming into this race?
Yes, the betting odds, Las Vegas betting odds on the Vegas race. You'd love to see it. All right, so for the favorites, Kyle Larson enters this weekend as the odds-on favorite at plus 450. William Byron and Denny Hamlin both plus 550. And finally, Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. at plus 750. As for the best of the rest, Christopher Bell at plus 1,000. Both at plus 1,300 are Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. At 1,500 sits Chase Elliott. And finally, Chris Buescher at plus 1,600. As for the underdogs, Bubba Wallace at plus 2,000. That's pretty good. Ty Gibbs at plus 2,800. Joey Logano plus 3,000. Alex Bowman 3,500. And finally, Kevin Harvick at plus 4,000. Hello, Raw Gator. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for he says he likes that graphic at the top left. Really appreciate it. And finally, before we move on, the NWP fantasy leagues. I mean, it's coming down to the wire for sure. But in the main league, in the first league, Sean 48 NY, not saying he has it locked up, but it's looking pretty good as he's leading the points over Denny Delivers. And third is Trevor Sports 98. Fourth is Black Flags Matter. And rounding out the top 5 is the NASCAR Bear. As for the second NWP fantasy league, a lot tighter points battle for sure, especially amongst the top 2. In first is Vroom HMS, and just 3 points behind sits Black Flags Matter. So hey, I got a shot at this championship here after sucking at NASCAR fantasy for the years. Race Roar 48 in third, JC_43 in fourth, and rounding out the top 5 is Chase L, yes, as it says there. And if we're going to combine the points, first through fourth, separated by just 40 points. Yeah, so it's pretty close. So it's top 4. Really the top, I want to say, really the top 10 has a shot at winning the title mathematically. So it's pretty close. But thank y'all for playing all year. And speaking of points, Eric, since you're the host, I know, perfect lead-in. You got to be feeling good about this one.
Oh, chat. Y'all got to be getting nervous, right? Y'all thought you had this. Y'all had me on the ropes. I'll be honest. Y'all thought y'all had this under control. I think 3 weeks ago, y'all were 29 points ahead. Then it was down to 25. Then it was down to 15. Guess what, chat? You guys are only 7 points ahead here in the home stretch. Chat has 535 total points. I'm -7. Darian in third, -36. Jarrett is -48. And for the first time all year, I think the basement is starting to separate itself. The bottom's starting to fall out of this house. Yeah. Danny is -76.
But hey, it came this late in the season though, to where it's like, okay, now he's out. He's out for sure. So great job though. At least he kept it competitive.
This is going to be good. We've only got 2 races to pick this week. I guess we'll start with the Xfinity race. We go in order of points. I'll go first. I got to pick some heavy favorites this week at Vegas. I think John Hunter Nemechek wins the Xfinity race. He's won the last 2.5 miles. Going back to his Michigan win, right? I think you could argue he's won like the last 3 intermediate races. So I'll go John Hunter gets the win.
Yeah, safe pick. Not picking him's hurt me in the past. John Hunter Nemechek.
I'm with you as well, John Hunter Nemechek, but Danny is not. Danny has Justin Allgaier, Little Gator.
Okay, that's pretty. Hey, that's a good one. That's another good one.
It is good
for sure. And I believe the chat
is going John Hunter. I don't blame you. That's a safe pick. John Hunter Nemechek for the chat. A few others mixed in there, but when in doubt, pick Nemechek, as Shorty PGM says right there. So let's move on to the Cup race, and we go in multiple rounds for this one. We start with our who's gonna suck pick. Again, I'll lead things off. I tried to pick playoff guys for all these, so round of 8. I'll go Chris Buescher. When I was comparing 1.5 mile results amongst the 8 remaining playoff drivers, not counting Atlanta, but there've only been 5 traditional 1.5 mile races this year, and I think Chris Buescher has either the worst or the second worst average finish of the remaining playoff guys, which was shocking to me because he won Michigan. I feel like he's been good everywhere. He's been just consistent, top 10. So maybe this is a fluke, but I'm going to go Buescher struggles relative to the rest of the playoff drivers.
This is a pretty safe pick. Austin Cindric. And what's even worse is that Penske, this is usually one of their bread and butter tracks. So not only do I think he'll be off, but I think he'll be way, way, way off, more than usual compared to his 2 other teammates.
I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick. At this point, I feel like he's just riding the end of his career out.
All right. And the chat, I think they're going Ty Dillon. I'm sorry, did we get Danny? I guess Danny didn't send it.
Ross Chastain is his.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one. And yeah, give the chat Ty Dillon at this point.
Ty.
They want to be safe. Yeah.
So next up is our underdog, our dark horse pick. Again, I'm trying to go with a playoff guy. It's hard to call any of these playoff guys dark horses, but of them, I think Ryan Blaney has to be the biggest dark horse. He's 8th on the playoff grid, but he does have a win at 1.5 miles this year, Charlotte back in the spring. So I'll go Blaney. I don't fully trust that Penske speed, but I think he'll have a consistent, solid top 10 run, maybe get some stage points. And that, Logano's known for playing strategy to get the max best finish he possibly can at the end of these races. Maybe Blaney can employ some of his own Logano-esque strategy.
Yeah, this guy's starting to show us something. I know, guy's just a rookie, but he's shown me something where it's like, okay, he's building up some momentum entering into next year for sure. Ty Gibbs is one to watch out for in terms of underdog drivers.
I'm going to go with the guy who I think this year will not have a bit of a mental breakdown on the track. I'm going Bubba Wallace. And anyone want to take a wild guess at Danny's dark horse?
Bowman.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, Vegas history. I knew it.
Chat is, I'm sorry, I got distracted. Amelia came in here a moment ago, turned on the 9th inning of the Astros Twins game. Houston Astros, baby, 7 straight ALCS appearances.
Nice.
This championship series is going to be nuts. Houston Astros, Texas Rangers. Holy damn, it's going to be crazy.
Really quick, Eric, did you see that Frontline documentary that dropped on the Astros yet?
I don't know. They didn't say anything I didn't already know, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's pretty good. That's all I'll say. It's pretty good.
Astros are a modern juggernaut. There is no denying it. Say what you will about 2017. Most underrated team in professional sports. Everyone's talking about the Braves who are about to get beat by the Phillies. Everyone's talking about the Dodgers who can't do anything in October. The Houston Astros, the most underrated franchise in professional sports today. Give them their respect that they have now finally earned.
Jesus,
sorry,
this is Eric
off topic.
Unprovoked. Imagine Eric you start talking trash to him.
It is my channel. I am going off. I've been holding this in for far too long. I'm sorry, chat. Who did they pick for their dark horse? I missed it. I'm sorry.
Reddick, I think.
I see BJ McLeod. I think they're going BJ McLeod.
I think they picked Reddick. I think I've seen a bunch of 45s, so I don't know. Just give him Reddick. I think.
Reddick.
Reddick sounds good. I'm a little surprised. I figured they'd save Reddick as a possible win pick. Just
too late now.
Consider.
Too late now.
All right. Let's move on to the
main event. Segment. Yes, it's time for the main event. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Vegas? Almost said Charlotte. Eric.
I'm going Denny Hamlin. I didn't write down any other notes on my notepad here, but he's just been steady, consistent. I know he struggled at the Roval, but I think before that he had like 3 or 4 top 5s in a row in these playoffs. He's just been steady and good and consistent. I don't know what else to say. I think he'll be there at the end.
If you're not a fan of this driver, you're going to hate this victory along with the others he's racked up this season. But if you are a fan, get ready for the big hat Byron moment. Another one. William Byron gets the victory and punches his ticket into the championship 4.
For similar reasons as Eric, I am also going with Dennis the Menace here. I think that you just look back at the speed he has. Sometimes he can't close out the win, but I think he's due. I mean, he's led laps in all 5 of his last 5 starts here. Doesn't matter the car, doesn't matter the time of year. He's always fast here. So I'm going Denny. And Danny's going with Byron.
Yeah.
Chad seems to be leaning Byron as well. I'm not even sure if we need a poll for this one.
I don't think we do.
Nah, we don't.
Yeah.
So me in the chat, we have the same pick.
And
Nick says, I actively dislike the big hats. Awesome. Well, chat, we got different picks. Byron versus Hamlin. Call it Texas 2022 all over again. We're going to have ourselves a little rivalry.
And I'm
Danny
looking at it right here. If Hamlin does finish ahead of Byron, because we all have the same Xfinity picks. If he doesn't win, Eric would be, I think, 3 behind. And if he wins without a sweep, then Eric would be 2 ahead.
Interesting. Interesting. That would be fun.
Yeah, I took my humble hat off 10 minutes ago.
It sounded like a Bruce Lee movie.
What? Yeah.
Mike Manning, fitting enough, just sent a super chat. Back off, Eric. This is the chat's championship. See, I like this. I like this back and forth we got going. That is a great segue, though. We do have to get to the remaining super chats here. You guys have sat patiently long enough. Let's bang these out. Where did I leave off? Jarrett earlier was saying vote for Jarrett. He's in full campaign mode, wants to win every hot take segment for the rest of time. I respect it. Jam Plays Games sent 2, says Truex feeling more heat in the round of 8 than an F1 driver. I saw the talk. Was there talk this week about the amount of heat that F1 drivers feel in the cockpit, like actual physical heat? They were comparing, someone was comparing NASCAR to IndyCar to F1. I think Jimmy Johnson was the one I saw chiming in on that conversation. Truex definitely a lot of pressure, although his car is already out of the playoffs, so maybe there is no pressure now. He's half eliminated. Shadow Fire sign sent a few super chats tonight. First of which, I think we already got some, but the first of which says, I have more faith in Legacy Motor Club going places next year than I do Spire. I'm not buying the Spire will be a force next year unless they bring in a new OEM.
No, that's fair. Yeah, no,
I do think Legacy Motor Club will be better, at least at first. Although that Gamebridge money, who knows how far that'll go? That could bring speed. Yeah. Money buys speed, as they say. Ben Taylor sent 2 and said, when your teammate is Austin Dillon, it isn't hard. I think was this talking about maybe the Kyle Busch having a successful season, I guess.
I think so, or at least in comparison.
Yeah. Damn, that Austin Dillon catching a body here for no reason. Like, it wasn't even part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks for the super chat. Hot Piss. Haven't seen Hot Piss in a while. They said, sorry, I've been away this season. Life has been wild. Just wanted to hop in and say, if Blaney can make it to Phoenix, he wins the championship. Finished second there the last 2 races. Glad to be back. Well, glad to see you again, Hot Piss. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well.
I agree with
Appreciate
that.
the support.
Yeah,
I think Jarrett mentioned it as well. Blaney is going to be one of the favorites if he sneaks his way into the championship 4. Grid Flow sent 2. Martin Truex bad all playoffs. Regular season matters too much. Oh, all right. That's a little different than I've heard in the past. I've heard for years that the regular season doesn't matter enough. But Grid Flow disagrees. I think right now the balance between the regular season and playoffs is maybe the best it's ever been. That's just me personally. There's obviously an added emphasis in these final 10 races, but if you're so good in the regular season, you can get away with more in these last 10. I think that's honestly the way it should be. As long as there's a playoff format, that is. Fred Dog 81. Did you see Slapshoes' latest video? He said that the Hail Melon ended up being a flop for both for both the one and NASCAR because they couldn't market it. Do you agree?
Yeah.
I saw his video and I thought it was I thought for the most part it was spot on.
Yeah.
Had the same thoughts. You know, a lot of folks outside of my general circle who don't watch NASCAR were bringing that up or said that they saw the clip, thought it was crazy. But I think the point Slap made in that video that I hadn't really thought of, but is exactly right, is that for younger viewers these days, that all they want to consume is bite-sized content, TikTok style content, tweets. And that move, a 5-second clip, was perfect for that. Getting 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds to sit down on a Sunday afternoon and watch a 3.5-hour cup race is a whole nother can of worms, let alone getting them to subscribe to cable, which nobody our age hardly is. I do because I'm a freaking slave to pro sports, but I feel like we're some of the exceptions. But I thought that was a great point he brought up, and was just a way they couldn't totally maximize it. And I saw a comment under that video as well that made a great point. If Chastain goes on to win the title last year, I think that move would have had larger implications. I think we'd still be seeing it.
Oh, yeah.
Not like new versions of it. I think we'd see the replay a lot more. It would have been a much greater, more impactful story. Instead, it really was just a flash in the pan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Still great. Still an awesome moment. Hoosier Films sent to MTJ is fire at Martinsville and Phoenix. Can he get hot? He absolutely can. And like we said earlier, he was leading at Homestead last year when that whole pit road incident happened. Movement says, my drivers love clutching wins. Bell 2022 at the Roval and Martinsville. Whoops. And oh gosh, where did we go? And Sam Mayer this year at the Roval. Very true. You've picked some very clutch drivers. That's great. Almost as clutch as my Houston Astros. Just going to keep throwing that out there. Hello FR says, will Chase win again, or is he Jimmy after 2017?
Damn. He'll win again.
Chase Elliott's gonna win another race. Let's get. Oh my gosh.
You know, I'm gonna save my thoughts for my hot take next week.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Ooh,
I like
nice,
it. Jared's
nice.
got hot takes to give. He's got to start handing some of these out. We're struggling. The rest of us are having a hard time. We're grasping at straws. Phoebe sent another 5, said, I think with ratings of young viewers, they're watching bootleg streams or foreign coverage with no commercials, which isn't calculated into percentages. Some of them definitely are. Absolutely. I don't know that it's a large enough number to make a huge dent in the TV ratings, but many people absolutely are. So there's something to factor in. But at the end of the day, also, when we're wanting Fox and NBC to spend all this money to help, fund the whole sport, they don't get money for those bootleg streams, so those don't really matter at the end of the day. They don't matter they don't matter to the media companies. They maybe still matter to the teams, I guess, who are selling sponsorship on their cars. I guess that makes sense. People sent 2 and said, host of Art of the 48 and mayor to the 9 in the future. God,
Yeah.
I don't see that. I don't know about that either. Shadowfire sent a couple more. If we're doing a dirt roval, let them drive buses. That would be crazy. And then they sent another one. Flips table. Byron will be number 1 at Hendrick. Ooh, so they are on the Byron bandwagon.
Gotta win that championship first.
Fred Dog says, if we're gonna go full crazy, let's go full crazy. A dirt roval on the drag strip. That would work. Phoebe says, no more Bristol dirt. Loose Pebbles, New Hampshire.
Loose Pebbles, New Hampshire.
That's funny. Yeah. Let's see. Another couple from Shadowfire sign. So is the consensus that Suarez is on the hot seat after Smith comes over, or will they get a 4th charter the following year for SVG? Suarez is definitely on the hot seat. I don't know what his contract looks like, but I think with 3 cup ready drivers, and SVG will eventually become cup ready, with 4 talented drivers under contract and only 2 charters for the foreseeable future. Suarez is on the hot seat. Gotta perform. Shadowfire said another one. If 2311 gets a 3rd charter and a 3rd driver to answer Trackhouse's Zane Smith, who from and who do they get? That's a big question. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The Live Fast charter wasn't thought to be available until like the 11th hour. Like, remember, we had Hamlin, Keselowski saying, nobody's selling. No one's selling. And then boom, out of nowhere, Live Fast sells. So that's just too unpredictable, I think. Marky Mark says, I'm late to the party. Just wanted to say howdy. Howdy, Marky Mark. Good to see you. Seen you in the chat earlier tonight. That's great. M. Martin fan for life says, does Ty Dillon become the new grandpa meme? I don't know. Ask Michael Mertz, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Is it just a Ty thing?
I thought it was just a tie thing. Yeah.
TIE fighter.
It is ironic that both ties have at one point or currently raced for their grandfather.
Yeah.
Something about that name, Ty.
We need to ask Majeski what he's got going on.
Yeah. What's he got cooking? Marky Mark says, Eric, are all your windshield fasteners tightened? Ah, damn it. I'm about to get disqualified. That's funny. Garabuki sent 10. Loved what AJ said in post race. I hate guys who win and just kind of do a semi fist pump in the air and maybe smile a little. Love when guys who really hunger for it, guys win who really hunger for it and won it. I agree.
You just got to get a big hat and everyone will ignore it.
Yeah, big hat.
The Gabe guy sent 5. What do you think of the 9 car in the owner standings after beginning the playoffs as the 16th seed? Oh, were they the 6th? They might. They were.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Wait, hold on. So they're leading the owners' points now?
Well, they're not leading it, but they're still in.
Okay.
That's impressive to have like virtually no playoff points to their credit. And to all be all the way to the round of 8.
Telling you, my hot take is about Chase Elliott and that 9 team next week. I'm leaving that little kernel right there for episode 250.
I appreciate it. I love that. Yeah, it's good promotion as well. Episode 250 coming in hot. Napa Racing Fan says, when will we see the Fontana short track? Will it have 2 dates? I think if we get it, it'll be 1 date. Could eventually be the championship date. That would not surprise me at all if it's decent. If it races well. Movement with them just saying Carl Edwards tweeted about colleague. Oh,
wait.
Did not.
Yeah.
Jimmy Leos sent 5. Is next week's podcast going to be in person since it'll be the 250th episode like you guys did with the 200th episode? I don't think so. I mean, 3 of y'all live in the Nashville area. I do not. I don't think I'll
in person. Did we?
Did we? I don't know. We did one of them in person.
We did 150 in person, right?
Yeah. That was the one in Nashville in 21.
Yeah. I can't remember. It's been a while.
I think we'll probably figure out to do one in person next year. I think we're already looking at our calendars now that we have our schedules.
Yes, finally. I believe this is our final super chat from Alessandro Sebastian. With NASCAR banning the wall ride to advance your position, what other loopholes are now available facing elimination? Freeze time and teleport? If you have that technology, I don't think that will get through inspection. Although maybe if you have that technology, you could probably game the system at that point. You're so sophisticated.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Yeah, I'm not sure.
To be fair, we wouldn't have thought of a wall ride last year at this time.
Yeah, the driver's gonna come up with something. They're gonna come up with something.
Yeah. I want to see. I don't know. I want to see like in Herbie Fully Loaded. I want to see somebody like pass someone on the high side by like
Herbie's on
going
the fence.
over them.
Yeah,
like actually climbing over the car somehow.
I mean, Kurt Busch did his best shot at that in 2020 at Talladega when he was waving to me on the second level of the grandstand.
That's possible. One more from Isaac just came in. Hey, Eric, how does it feel to have a former W Cup Series winner racing in the Cup Series? Yeah, it is pretty funny.
It's cool.
Carson Hocevar was a sponsor of one of my early diecast seasons. I think he was on the 99 car. I think he was on like Carl Edwards' car back in the day, and did win a race. And he has reminded me of it a couple different times I've talked to him. So he still remembers, which is pretty surreal because I forget.
Shout out to Carson, though, for doing his Sirius XM interview while streaming in front of over 400 people racing Moon Car.
Yeah, that was cool. It was pretty cool.
I love it.
I do love it. And I was thinking about this. I didn't know he had a Twitch account, and I don't know how often he streams on Twitch, if it's iRacing or what. But I think it was this year or last year. I remember going on a huge rant about how more of these young drivers just need to stream on YouTube, stream on Twitch, stream on Instagram, wherever. And shout out to Hocevar. If that's a consistent thing at all, respect that. Like, that's what we need these young drivers to embrace. I hope he's having fun with it. But that's going to do it. I believe we are just past 10 o'clock here on the Eastern Seaboard. And that's another episode of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast in the books. We covered a ton of ground tonight. Woo, I feel like I've not stopped talking for 2 hours.
I'm surprised we didn't make it to 2 hours, 30 minutes. Maybe even the 3 hour mark.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
This isn't season 1 or early season 6.
And we don't have and also we don't have the top 75 list. I do miss doing that though.
I do miss that. Those are some fun debates and shocking. I learned so much about you that just can't be put back in the bottle, unfortunately. Cannot unsee.
But only 4 more NWP episodes left, right? 4.
That's right. And next week's episode, Jarrett teased it a moment ago, will be episode 250 since we started this thing back in 2018. He's not here with us, unfortunately, to shout himself out, so I'll do it for him. But Daniel Baldwin, Danny B Talks, will be hosting. So I believe the link to his channel is down in the description below. Go subscribe if you're not already. Turn on reminders so that Wednesday night, October 18th, 8 p.m. Eastern time, you are here to hang out with us live. We'll talk all things Vegas. We'll preview Homestead Miami. We'll be in the middle of the round of 8. Should be a lot of great stuff to discuss. I'm looking forward to it. But gentlemen, it's a great show tonight. Appreciate you guys being on as always. And thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out with us. Almost 250 of these things. That is absolutely crazy. And I always have to shout him out. Jarrett has been there for every single episode. The rest of us have missed here and there in the past. Jarrett is Mr. Consistency. Do you still have that perfect attendance from episode 200? Yes, he does. Yeah.
There it is.
I love the North Wilkesboro sign as well. That's a good.
Danny got that for me. I got
that's
it.
nice.
People
Also,
don't see all the stuff in here. By the way, Bold and Brash still there.
More like belongs in the trash.
Well, the funniest part about this is I just have so much junk everywhere. Well, my cousin made those for me when she was little. So
that's
that's so cool.
That's cool. Also, one final thing before we head out, Denny Hamlin just tweeted this. He's going to the Travis Scott concert in his full Jordan fire suit. By the
Denny
way,
Hamlin is?
Yeah. He just tweeted that. Yeah. He's at full fire suit. Jordan fire.
Travis Scott. What? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's down with the culture, man.
That's fun. That's something. Yeah. He saw that vintage racing jackets and stuff were in style. So he said, F it. I'll wear a whole modern fire suit.
Yeah. Why not?
That's cool. That's great. The drip, as Need for Speed says.
Sirens coming in, baby.
There we go.
I can barely hear my left ear. That's there we go. It wouldn't be a show without some sirens whizzing past Jarrett's residence. Stay safe out there, folks. We'll see you next week. Danny B's channel, episode 250. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Take care.
Goodbye.
Have some fun tonight. Go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the copy? Right foot down. We had to go flat. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. Kiss your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Look great.